So, people taking notice. And that's why you're really mad. And lost your focus. Hi, everybody. So, shout out to this full super blood flower moon eclipse. Or this period, this point in my life where I'm experiencing like the past, I guess yesterday and today. So, around this full moon. Yesterday, I was chatting with a friend and something came out. Um, she used this tuning fork that tunes like all seven chakras, and it brings to surface like the soul's purpose. And then I go to bed, I wake up, I come life. I went back to bed, then I woke up, and I grabbed my phone, and I had it next to me, and I was like, I'm about to go back to sleep. So I just like looked to see what time it was, and I noticed that Amanda from Car Messages was live. I was like, oh, okay, guess I'll do this. And then she did a guided meditation. That part of that was about like sort of aligning the soul to purpose and connecting with that sense of oneness and being unburdened. And that like soul and purpose thing sort of came up again. I was like, wow, I just experienced this. At that point, it was a little over 12 hours ago, within the past 24 hours. And then I talked to my girl because I ain't talked to her in a minute. And at the end of the conversation, well, first of all, at the end, because last night I said that like I feel like my soul would be more fire and air instead of earth and water, which is how I'm chart dominant in this incarnation. And then at the end of the guided meditation that Amanda did, it was just like, you really don't know yourself, do you? I was like, no, all I have is like, this incarnation to go off of and like what I feel. I don't know myself. Why don't you tell me who I am? Remind me. Um, but it was this energy where it's like that fire air thing isn't necessarily true. It feels like in some ways I'm positioned in this lifetime to, it feels like honestly like I'm positioned to be the most me I've ever been. Um, and if that's the case, then everything that I've learned from my grandparents and my parents since growing up has kind of sort of, I mean, everything that I've experienced in life, unsurprisingly, has been sort of leading me to this point of being that without all of the reservations. And yeah, so shout out to Amanda. Check out Anamkara Messages, the guided meditation, her whole channel, if you feel so guided. Um, and then, so it was that like, wow, like I'm more than just that. Like, girl, like you really don't know yourself, do you? I'm like, no. Care to show me who I am? It's like, be careful what you wish for. Care to show me who I am? I'm not scared. And then so there's going to be a lot. I'm just going to go in this video. Whatever comes out, comes out. I'm not going to timestamp anything. There's no real intention behind this. I'm not going to put a time limit on this. So watch at your own risk or leisure. Um, but then I talked to one of my good friends, and in the space of talking with her, I was able to like vent and just like, she's one of my favorite people to talk to because I feel like I can vent with her and she's my journey buddy, right? Like we started at the same time. We've like our growth isn't exactly the same, but we had resonance when we started and we still hold it. And there's so much like love and respect and space held and appreciation and validation and like calling each other out on some stuff. I feel like honestly, more her calling me out on stuff. And so I just like, I guess, released some stuff that's been jumbling around my brain. And I reached this point, and I've talked about it on here. And maybe this is why my Jupiter in Libra is in freaking retrograde, because of when I talked about how like I'm not gonna take an opportunity that I know like I don't want, when that's a spot like or an interview that someone who actually wants that job could have. Like I'm not gonna do that. And then she was like you know that you can't take anyone else's opportunity from them, right? Like if that was theirs, then it's going to be theirs regardless of if you apply, if you interview, or how far you make it, just like it would be yours. And I'm like, what? What? You mean I'm not taking opportunities away from other people? And to me, I guess it's wild because like competition isn't something that I really subscribe to for myself personally. Like I don't believe that anyone can take anything that's mine. And if I didn't get something, then it wasn't meant for me to have it. It doesn't mean that the experience or the process or something related to it wasn't meant for me to experience. Uh, and then she was like, kind of in a way, like, if you feel sort of guided or led to something and you don't take it, or like if you don't apply, you could also be sort of like doing everyone a disservice because now like you could be something that they were looking for or something that they were not looking for. And after coming across you, well, now they know better. And also now you know better. It benefits everyone. And I was like, what? And I don't know why. Like I said, like I don't believe that anyone can do it to me. So I don't know why I believed or thought that I could do any like that to someone else. And I remember like getting upset. Cause and it's also easier for me to take things from her rather than from my friend. It's easier for me to take a lot from a lot of other people than it is for me to take it from him. But he's also the friend that I'm learning to listen to, right? And she was like, I don't think he meant it that way. And then she like broke it down for me. And it felt like that for me was such a release because not only do I have this thing about like, I'm not necessarily looking for something perfect, but I want something that makes sense right now. And if it doesn't make sense, then I'm not going to invest anything in it. And I could be like limiting myself from so many things that are for me to experience that I might actually enjoy because of whatever. Um, and I feel like she got me together real quick. And I feel like it was also some things that I needed to hear, especially as I come into this next phase and next chapter of my life. And it felt like so big. What other planets do I have retrograde? Mercury is retrograde in my chart. Pluto is retrograde in my chart. Chiron and Jupiter. Like I done the node thing. I'm doing the node thing and the Chiron thing. I guess the retrogrades are next, girl. And we're starting with Jupiter. I'm like, what? Also, look at this. I'll be alfalfa. Anybody have some hairspray? Okay. Excuse me. Hey Siri, pick a random number between 1 and 9.
A random number between 1 and 9 is 7.
A random number between 1 and 9 is 7. Did you hear that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Interesting. Ooh, ooh, ooh. There's a song that was stuck in my head before I started this. It's from Steven Universe. And I think it's You Were Meant to Shine. I can look up the lyrics. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Do, do. out! But the frame is still intact. Girl! Looks like I'm going to have to spend that dollar after all. Sorry to have wasted your glue, mama. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Easy A. I want to watch that movie. Let's go. Steven Universe. You are meant to shine. Da, 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 da. Oh, it was from the Dove Self-Esteem Project. We deserve to shine. That's what it is. We deserve to shine. Can I play it? I mean, what are they going to do? Demonetize this video?
So it's about how you feel about your body? Yes. It's about how everyone deserves to be seen. Yeah. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Are you sure you don't want human beings for this? Testing. It's for humans and gems. Thanks.
All right, places, everybody. This is body confidence. Take 1.
We're small, but we're strong. We're cool, but we're kind. And we deserve to shine. We're gritty and tough. We're smooth and refined. And we deserve to shine. We'll figure it out. There's plenty of time for everybody and every mind. And every facet to finally find that we deserve to shine. We deserve to shine.
Well, there you go. Okay. I love that, girl. Gotta give that a like. Oh, I thought that today. Let's see. Did I already change this? No, I don't think I did. Excuse me. One moment, please. I already changed this one. I can still read it though. It's fine. But yeah, I feel like I was sort of limiting myself in a lot of ways because of that line of thinking that was so far off base. And it's like, I guess I wanted to be like so conscious of like other people that it came at detriment to myself, question mark. And it's not to be so selfless that, you know, it does come at detriment to self. Don't know how these are going to work, but we're going to go with it. Ooh, this might be the whole video. Hey Siri, choose a number between 1 and 21.
A random number between 1 and 21 is 20.
Is 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't think I counted that one before. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, ooh, 19, 20. Girl, give me all the cards I don't know how to work with. Yes, I should have took the other deck because that deck I've been wanting to actually work with. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 21.
A random number between 1 and 21 is 3.
Number 3. Okay. Well, we'll see. We'll see how we can make this work. It'll work. And if it doesn't work, we'll find a way. Let's do 1. So I'm going to be using Angelarium. Hey, Mimi. I know, right? I was just thinking about how I need to do laundry today. So, turns out, thanks to a few friends, they did some of my research for me because they've been to the area that I'm going to. So, um, I was like, okay, like I've done my part. I was talking to my girl. I was like, thanks for doing my homework for me. So, I guess that's why I'm doing this. I was not able to see the moon, unfortunately. It was still cloudy. And I go out there, I notice like the headlights on in the back. I'm like, are those headlights on back there? I'm like, what's going on back there? And then a few seconds later, my brother comes in. He was like, somebody said that they saw somebody in a white shirt and some blue shorts out here. And my mom was like, oh, Patrick was trying to see the moon. So, who is this? Hod, left leg submission. Okay, are we gonna start here? Yes, we are. Okay, all right. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Let's get 4. How are you doing today? Yeah, I need to get my documents together so I can get my license. All things in time, said the lazy procrastinator. The ex-lazy, formerly procrastinator. So this one, 4, right? Yup. 5. 3, 2, 1, 6, and 7. Hey, I got enough room for this one. Here it is. I was like, I literally just had this box. It's been so long since you drank wine. You were in the zone. I mean, every now and then you just gotta go for it. Ooh, Bina, Left Eye Knowledge is at the bottom of the deck. Bina? I don't know how to pronounce any of these. So that was 1. Here's 2. And I'm just going to put all of these on here right now. Oh, I'm using the wild unknown animal spirits too. And some of these animals, I don't know. Amanda! Hey! I was just talking about how you are a very integral piece to my currently unfolding puzzle. So the reason why the guided meditation you did earlier held resonance for me is because last night I was talking with a friend and I was like, hey, like, can you grab a tuning fork? I was like, can you grab a tuning fork? I'm feeling like I need it. And so she grabbed the one she grabbed, it was like all 7 chakras, and it was like the soul purpose tuning fork or something like that. And then, like, I woke up and I grabbed my phone and I was about to go back to sleep. So I was going to put my phone away. And then I looked at my phone before I put it away and you had just gone live. And then in the title, it said something about like aligning the soul to purpose or something like that. I just butchered the title. But that's why I was like, oh my gosh, like literally just had this. And then I have a conversation with my friend. And yeah, after that guided meditation, though, I walked away from that, walked away. I didn't go anywhere. But I felt that I really sort of didn't know myself. Or I felt that the way I was talking about myself the night before, which was last night, or this morning technically here, it was like 12. Um, it wasn't necessarily true to who I am. And it was just like, you really don't know yourself, do you? And it wasn't in like a condescending way or in a bad way. It was in a way that's like, Spirit is excited to show me who I am. And I'm excited to discover who I am because that's what I'm all about. I'm like, show me. Yeah. And so I got some key insights into some limiting beliefs that I hold that I can associate to my natal Jupiter being in Libra retrograde. And that literally, it's something that I literally just talked about so definitely and finitely, not even realizing and recognizing the opportunities and the potentials that it separates me from. So, yeah. And I think it was that, like, there are certain ways that I can be that I choose not to be. And those ways sort of, with my energy, it's like there's a natural cohesion there. And so it experiences amplification and magnification and expansion because it's sort of similarly frequented or frequencied. I was like, oh, so let's get into these. I'm going to stop when a card comes out. Oop, oop, oop. Okay, all the cards came out. Thank you. I guess. Are all of these for the first one? Woo! This this is a lot of cards. I'm gonna do it. I'm feeling crazy today. There's like 15 cards on this first one. Oh my gosh. I had a dream last night, and in the dream, it was a message of like not being able to do other people's work for them. And there was someone, I feel like there was an element of water. I don't remember how. Oh, there was a thing. There was a thing that it was a like a reward or something, right? And it's like I was in a room with a group of people, and I think I had an idea. I was like, I think I know how to solve this to get the reward, but I'm gonna tell everybody because we're gonna split it. That way, things don't get weird, and then like people are trying to off people, and then it's like there can only be one, right? I was like, I'll let you all in on it, but we're gonna do this together, and we'll split the reward. And then there was one part where we were like being followed or something, and I was like, so I chose to like stay behind and to mislead whoever was following us so that the others could go forward and claim the reward. I don't know. And then there was some like foghorn noise that I was making, but I guess it almost sounded like a ship that was coming in to dock. It's a ship horn. It sounded like a ship horn. And I was like, or whatever. I was a big goose. And then I had a dream where it's like it was just that feeling of like you can't do, like you can only do what you can do. And when it comes to others, it's like you can try to help, you can assist them in certain ways, but you can't do their work for them. But that doesn't mean that you can't like assist and that you can't guide and that you can't be there, right? Ooh, the beaver. Okay. The beaver is the only animal right now that I actually see. This beaver, speaking of the chakras, it reminds me of so today is very unstructured. Um and I'm just sort of going. I'm going as long as I want to or as long as I can today. There's no real structural formula. There will be no timestamps. Ooh, the owl is at the bottom of the deck here. Being the left-eyed knowledge was at the bottom of the deck of the Angelarium. The owl is here. Owl to me symbolizes more of a wisdom than a knowledge. If I want to be like get into semantics. Where am I putting these boxes? Hello? Here it is. I'm like, excuse me? What? No more wine. um, I want to get two of these. Oh my gosh, that is so many animals. Wow, that came out immediately. And I'm going to keep you here too. Just going with it, flowing with it. Well, this is a spread, so, you know. And I guess my North Node is in Sagittarius. But where did I was like, hold up, where did that come from? I said I was getting 2 cards. Oh gosh. Well, I'll get all of these and then I'll go back through. I'll get another one when I actually run through them. How's that? That works. But it's at like 17 degrees Sagittarius, I think. So this full moon eclipse was like a healthy 12 degrees away. Very loose conjunction. But, you know, it was an eclipse that happened on the nodes. So I think what's interesting, though, at least for me, is that right now my nodes oppose the collective nodes. I'm looking at this pearl on the leaf. And then there's that one. Oh, that's like there's the full moon and then there's the eclipsed moon because it's red. Like what? Hmm. It feels like there was something born in the space of this eclipse, and instead of it like being oxidized by the presence of oxygen in the atmosphere, it's going to be like deoxidized. So it's coming to us red, and then it's going to sort of fade over time into what it actually is. I don't know. I have no clue. Your nodes are still in conjunction. Mine are 2. Because my nodes, so they just went like, what, 11? I think they're 11 degrees right now. And so they're like 6 degrees away. But the moon was like 12 degrees away. So that's why I was like, all right, let's see. Let's see. What is this? What's this? So, oh my gosh. The books. I need the books. And I need them other glasses because I'm not trying to struggle to read today. Also, yesterday, my light started doing that weird thing again. That's why it's not on. And I turned it on earlier. And it went like it cycled red, blue, green, red, or blue, red, green, and then white. And it was on. But it's been doing this thing where it'll keep resetting and it'll just like flash blue. And it'll like blue, 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 blue. I'm like, I just want my light to be able to work so that I can have it. But what does it mean? What does it mean? I don't know. Oh my goodness. Can the lights get it together, please? I am going to change this one though. So give me a second. So I just turned it off. I'm like, I can't. So I can read. Maybe, but I don't get it. So it's going to have to find another way to come to me. I'm sure it'll make itself known here pretty soon. So, in the space of the driver's seat, we have Hod, left leg, submission. The eighth Sephira, the eighth emanation, the force that abides. Hyde is what guides us when we surrender ourselves to the flow of fate and let destiny guide our motion. Through her light, we see the boundlessness of glory. Waving our hands through the wind, we feel the air. Oh, that was another thing. I was doing I was doing the guided meditation. I was sitting through it, right? I was lying, to be fair, like on the bed. Um, and when you started talking about the baby, the smiling baby, and that recognition, and it's like it's the same thing. Like when for me, it's like when there's a dog or an animal that I feel connected to, um, and like the baby, and there was something else. I can't remember what the other thing was, but and then you ended up saying it. It's like feeling seen. And I was like, I feel like seen. And like when especially like if they smile or something, or if they laugh, I'm like, wow, like thank you. And it was like expanding that energy, and you said it, like expanding that energy of being seen and being recognized. And I always feel like such a good person. I'm like, wow, I must be a good person. Like this baby that doesn't even know me is like smiling at me and is laughing. And if the baby cries, then that doesn't that doesn't mean anything either. It reminds me there was an outside petting zoo on campus, and they had sheep there, a little baby sheep. And one of my friends, he went up and he pet the sheep, and I was like, oh, he must be pure of heart. And then another one of my friends, he went to go pet it, and it like ran away immediately. And I was like, ha. And then I went to go pet it, and I got a little closer, but it still ran away. And I was like, oh, like, like I want to pet it like the other one did. I got to pet the pig, but the baby, like the little piglets were like bristly and rough. I was like, oh, I didn't expect for pigs to feel so coarse, but anyway, it reminds me of that. I should go try to pet the lamb now. Um, yeah, sorry. I'm a little distracted today, but it's fine. It's all within the space. It all holds resonance. But this reminded me of that for some reason. Waving our hands through. Oh, that's why. Waving our hands through the wind. So as I was doing the meditation, I could feel the like the breeze come in. And when I was first doing it, my palms were down because I was just like laying on the bed. And then I put my palms up. I didn't hold them up. I just like turned them so that they were facing up. And I could feel like so much energy just like swirling and moving. I'm like, oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever felt this much before. Um, but honestly, the past 24 hours have held a lot of synchronicity. Like yesterday, I randomly got a nudge or a tap or a pull from an energy that I don't often, or I haven't lately. It's not that I don't often, it's that I haven't lately. And it seemed to have a fair amount of urgency to it. And I was like, what's this about? And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to get quiet later and I'm going to fill into this and then see what's up. Right. And it's so weird. But like, so I felt in that space. I felt what was up. I didn't quite understand it, but I did whatever I needed to do in that space. And then when I woke up later, I was sort of scrolling on YouTube for a little bit before I came live. Um, and I started seeing so many videos. It was like three, but that's a lot. Because it was one video about something that it was about the eclipse and the Aztec calendar, and how the Aztec calendar follows the eclipses. The Mayan calendar followed the great conjunctions. Um, and it was related to what I had been sort of like pulled to do earlier in the day, not really thinking anything about it. Just like, okay, I'm weird. And so I just go with it. Right. If something pulls on me, it's like, hey, I need a little energy. Like, can you like do whatever? I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. Right. Not really thinking about it, not really giving it any mind. Like I am, but not really. And then to be hit with like the information I was hit with later, and then another video and another video. And actually, all of that tied to a card that I saw earlier in the day, now that I think about it. And that time and in that moment, I didn't really catch it. I did, but not really. I'm like, oh, that like it. So yeah, synchronicity within the past 24 hours is crazy. But in the space of a full super blood flower eclipse moon and Sagittarius, I'm not surprised. Um, Prey animals are genetically primed to. Yeah, I know that. Oh. Because I know that, like, they are, like, I didn't think about that, though. It was my excitement. My excitement was like, oh, come here. No, stop running. I was a little too eager. I was a little too excited. It was like, you need to calm down before you approach me, please. You have too much energy, and the energy in you is riling up the energy in me, and you're running at me. I'm going to run away. Like, that's just how it works. Okay. I keep seeing that. Or I've heard it mentioned, and then I saw 144, but I just kind of sort of let it go. I'm like, not for me. Yeah. But I feel like it's like, I guess it's not for me to know. There's a lot of stuff that I don't know. And so maybe it was just the synchronicity to let me know that something, like it was for something. It wasn't for no reason. I'm like, okay, I don't know what this is, but all right, sure. So, yeah. So, Hod, left leg submission. I'll start from the beginning. The eighth emanation, the force that abides. Hod is what guides us, or Hod is what guides us when we surrender ourselves. Well, it's Yod, right? So Hod. When we surrender ourselves to the flow of fate and let destiny guide our motion. Through her light, we see the boundlessness of glory. Waving our hands through the wind, we feel the air pull us upward. It's only by resigning ourselves to the forces around us that we truly experience the nature of those forces. The golden orb shines a radiant light upon our shoulders. Supporting the pillar of severity, Hod does not press back against the weight of the tree. Instead, she simply lets it pass through her, flowing like water down into the lowest portion of the diagram. Through the two opposing characteristics of Hod and Netza, relinquishing and resistancing, we gain the power to move. Together, they form the power to carry ourselves through the world with grace and intention, found in prayer, nature, and mysteries. And there's a lot of mysterious happening going on. I probably don't need these because it's really big, but it's easy to read. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, 8 cards that came out. 8 animals. Oh, speaking of prey animals, here's the rabbit. The first animal is the rabbit, which is like a prime prey animal. And it reminds me of that. It's like if a rabbit shows you its belly, that means it trusts you because they're sort of like genetically wired to run away from everything. Um, we have the rabbit, which could be a timidity, a shyness, a reservedness, a feeling of being um, prime prey. And then we have the oyster. And after the oyster is the eagle. This is interesting because in the entry for the rabbit in the book, she's like, there's this rabbit who's going on and on and on about how it's going to get eaten by the eagle. And there's an eagle passing by that hears the rabbit talk about being eaten by the eagle. And the eagle's like, oh, I could actually go for some rabbit. And then it grabs the rabbit. And it almost speaks of like negative self-fulfilling prophecies. And this is something I talked to my friend with. Um, yeah. Oh, that makes sense. so that they can propagate the species. And I think that's something that I heard because someone said that, back in the day when healthcare wasn't what it is today, people had a lot of children because the mortality rate was higher and life expectancy wasn't as long. So they had more kids. Um, but I was talking with my friend about synchronicity. And she was like, I just have to ask because I'm curious. Like, do you think that you're experiencing all of the synchronicity because it's something that you're like putting out into the universe? Or like, is there something else behind it? And I was like, I don't know, because like if we have the ability to create our own sort of like world in our universe through the power of intention, then like I can see like then is it that like since I'm already thinking this, since my intention is already here, I'm seeing more and more the reality around me resonate that back to me? Or is this a synchronicity guiding me in a certain direction? Like which is it? Does it matter? And she was like, I don't know. I was just asking. I was like, okay, well, thanks, because now I'm curious. And I guess it reminds me of this, because here's the rabbit and the eagle. We see the rabbit and the thing it was afraid of. The thing that it was afraid of is here. But the oyster in between, we also have three different elements. It's earth and then water and then air. This oyster in between, oh, the pearl. The pearl. There it is. There's the pearl. And then there's the other pearl. Here are the pearls from this oyster. I was like, oh snap. I was like, I know I'm drawn to this book for some reason. I was like, because I'm looking, I'm like, why am I like so hyper focused on that right now? Well, here's the oyster. And maybe this eagle is going for the pearl inside it. Like that's the pearl inside of this oyster. Girl, what is happening? For future eclipses, it's too much energy. I'm not going to do Season 2 of Rabbits in Love. What? Robots in Love. And one of the stories. And no one having kids. I mean, it goes back. That's like human scarcity, right? If people live forever and we have kids, then there's going to be like way too many people. That reminds me of an anime that I'm watching, and their solution to their problem is to euthanize people. That's what you call it when you make it so people can't have kids anymore, right? There's the fire. I'm like, where's the fire? So we have earth, water, air, water, fire, earth, earth, ether. Oh! I just mentioned this animal. Prey animals are here. Anyway, here's the pearl. This oyster holds the mystery on whether the eagle was already going to eat the rabbit or if the rabbit summoned the eagle through the space of its worry, its concern, its fear, and the vocalization of it. Then, after the eagle, we have Otter Spirit animal, the otter animal, which is about playfulness, right? It's also the otter holds a bit of attachment in the space of fluidity. We just watched it 2 days ago. Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's what. Yeah, you get. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not euthanasia. Okay. Amanda's just coming through today with like everything. I appreciate it. I'm glad. Thank you. The Otter Spirit, it's an energy of playfulness, but it's also an energy of attachment, right? Because so like to make sure that they don't drift apart, two otters will sort of link hands as they flow through the river. So it's still in the flow, but it doesn't have to sacrifice attachment to do that. It reminds me of attachment in the I Ching, where it says clinging is suspicious. Clinging is auspicious if the internal fire also burns bright, right? If we're relying on something outside of us to be the source of our motivation, then that's when clinging can lead to decay. But if we're already sort of like internally motivated, if we're already alive on the inside, if we're already connected, then there's no harm in attaching to something else. Because from that space of internal connection, it's like it'll keep us sort of navigating in favorable ways and like sort of aligned ways. It may not be exactly, but it'll keep it resonant. It'll maintain that resonance. And I feel like that also goes back to the Queen of Wands, the Four of Swords, and the Three of Wands that came out, where it's like it's not to be so energetically detached from something that it's like, well, do you want it or not? And it's okay to want things, it's okay to desire things, but to be consumed by desire, it's like that sort of like the love of money is the root of all evil. It's not money itself. Money itself is neutral. Money does whatever you do with it. And however you choose to acquire it is the frequency that it holds when you get it. The thing in and of itself is neutral. It's the pursuit of it, the love of it, the use of it that begins to add more and more layers on top of like how it plays out. Right. And so honestly, it feels like this otter is coming out and the otter is saying it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the rabbit summoned the eagle through the space of its sphere and its worry and concern over being eaten by an eagle, or if the eagle had already had its eye on that rabbit, right? It doesn't matter if synchronicity is guiding you towards something or if synchronicity is affirming what it is that you're already doing. With this otter, it's like, well, it's like, how do you play with it? How do you use it? How do you hold on to that in a space of flow? Can you flow with it regardless? It's like which came first, the chicken or the egg? And at the end of the day, it's like, does it matter? Because now we have eggs and chickens. And how would knowing which came first benefit us in any like tangible way? Like if you just want to know, then you can have the answer, but what is there in the knowing? Like the knowing of this doesn't necessarily give more. And maybe that's the wisdom that the oyster holds. I don't know. We're just flowing with it. Next is Lizard Spirit. So now we get some fire. So we have all four elements present now. We see water twice. But one of these waters is more hidden or reserved or not completely transparent, question mark, with the oyster. And then we have the more open water with the otter. So there you go. Anyway, the lizard fire. This to me is carrying an energy of cold bloodedness. So the lizard doesn't have the capacity, the lizard isn't physiologically capable of regulating its own internal temperature. So the lizard depends on the outside environment to help it, right? If the lizard gets cold, it goes and it lays out in the sun. If the lizard gets too hot, it goes to the shade. As humans, as mammals, we have the ability to have like this internal homeostatic process, right? When we get too hot, we sweat. When we get too cold, we shiver. And those little movements help like generate heat, right? Or we can blow into our hands, or we go into the closet and we put on a coat or we take off our clothes, right? And then next is the lamb. And I was just talking about little sheep. Look at that little sheep. And then the raccoon is after that. Yeah, the lizard and the lamb, it's a feeling of falling prey to our environment. Or we're feeling like we're prey to our environment. There's something about our ability to regulate that inside ourselves that we're still developing. And that's why the environment is so important right now. And I think a lot of times, especially me, I can try to take, or I can have these sort of perspectives where it's like sometimes the environment doesn't necessarily matter as much. Sometimes it does, right? Because there are places and spaces that aren't necessarily immediately available to offer and provide what it is that we're desiring to experience. And so, in that, we can find challenge and difficulty. But at the same time, what we hold internally sort of resonates outward. If we have that internal homeostatic capability and function sort of unlocked, then our environment will sort of always, it's like it will, it's like a two-way thing instead of it being one way. Instead of it being purely internal to external or purely external to internal, it's like it opens up this conversation between the two when we have that sort of internal balance, right? And with the raccoon here sitting on top of the lizard and the lamb, it's like that energy of that's what cuts us off from opportunity. It's like more so than the environment itself. It's how we force all of the responsibility on of the state of whatever onto the environment. And in that line of thinking, or in that way of believing and operating, now your environment holds power over you. And like, there are a whole bunch of animals and creatures on this planet who whose internal temperature is regulated by external forces, and it's fine, right? That's who they are. I'm not saying that lizards are wrong, and I'm not saying that people are wrong if they have to sort of like find an environment that puts them in a position where they feel good, right? But it's just for us to be aware of, if we hold on to certain things internally, then those things will manifest externally regardless of the environment that we're in. And I guess my biggest worry or concern for humanity or for people is that we sort of position ourselves to continuously experience more or less of the same thing. And then we become convinced that that's all that life has to offer. Or we become convinced that that's a truth of reality when that's not necessarily the case. Like things could be different if we sort of like operated and moved differently. And seven is like chariot energy, right? This is the chariot spread, if you didn't know. And I didn't say it. So all of this, though, all of this is behind the driver's seat of the chariot right now. So when like at first when eight animals came out, I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to be like eight different scenarios? But it makes sense. And then the last animal is the unicorn. The unicorn is giving very much so full, first of all, full moon sort of energy, which I love. But it's like that third eye. But it feels like this third eye, it's like it's calcified energy. Reminds you of Isaac from Castlevania. I've never seen it, but I'm glad that you find resonance in it. There's a calcified energy here in this unicorn. it feels like this is the thing that I was telling you that I'm worried about. We become so ingrained into what our experience is and has been that it's all that we're capable of perceiving. And in some ways, it's like this is the point where it interferes with our ability to perceive things truly. Because now we twist and distort and force things to fit what it is that we already know and believe to be true about the world, right? It's more like South Node Sagittarius energy, how the beliefs and the philosophies that are established sort of like it's the point where they start to hinder us and hold us back more than they propel us forward. I think there's also like this unicorn could be a horse, and then like this is a light from the divine that's coming in to like try to cleanse and clear and clean that third eye area. It's like it's trying to get us to see that again with this otter. It's trying to get us to see this otter energy, where it's like it's more so how you use it. It's more so how you subscribe to it. It's more so how your beliefs play out in your own life and reality and world that establishes or redefines this predator prey internal external relationship. And by default, it kind of sort of isn't really wired to help us, to move us forward, to assist us. We get programmed into, we get convinced into, we protect ourselves and shield ourselves and make ourselves strong to the point of sort of like always being at the mercy of other people and everything outside of you. Now, it's like, well, if you grow up or if you find yourself in places that are very comfortable, then it's like you can have this same experience. You can still be sort of subjected to your external environment, but your external environment isn't necessarily as harsh or as prickly, sticky, pokey, stabby as someone who has like a harsher sort of experience, right? Who is in a not as great environment. And sometimes it's like we kind of sort of grow up in that. And so there are things that we think are sort of established within us, but we don't necessarily have the opportunity to build. It's like if you're raised religious or spiritual, and like that's who and what you are until you reach that point where it's like God shows you himself, herself, itself, the divine shows you themselves how real they are. And it's like, well, like, whoa, like I was raised to believe this, but now it's like it holds so much more meaning than it did before because now I've had that more personal experience, right? And like I thought, or it's like I did have personal experiences before where I already believed this, but now it's like this experience is more intimate, it's deeper, it's impacted me, affected me on a different level, in a way that like I knew it was real before, but like now I know that it's real, right? And the card that came out in the Dysology is a displacement replaced, unintended and unforeseen consequences, and a need for wisdom. That need for wisdom is interesting, again, because at the bottom of the Angelarium is left eye knowledge. the bottom of the animal spirits is the owl. And then on the book, wherever I'm like, I literally just had that. Here's this pearl of wisdom that the oyster is sort of holding on to. And that's what this is. This is what your external environment has the opportunity and the ability to sort of teach you. It's not how weak you are. It's not that the world is out to get you. It's almost like it's trying to show you what's missing. And it's like eagle, spirit is like, what's missing? What isn't here? What feels like it's not right? It's the pearl that's held by this oyster. I've never seen this as like a blank space, but that's like it's a blank space. That's where the pearl goes. And we're sitting in the space of the rabbit, we're sitting in the space of the lizard and the lamb, trying to put ourselves in an environment, in a situation where we feel comfortable, where we feel safe, we feel cared for, and whatever, but not necessarily building that, finding that, allowing it to rise from inside, where we can sort of regulate, we can be self-regulated, right? And then the self-regulation also interacts with external regulation. And again, that's the energy of that moat. Inside, it's spinning positive, negative, it has momentum. Outside, it's sort of aligning in similar ways and it's out there spinning. And there's the distance and the movement, it builds up like potential. This is that I don't know if it's necessarily a new body or a different body, or actually it came to me the other night and I already forgot. I already forgot what it was. I need to start coming live at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning as soon as I get something, just to like have it. Because sometimes like I'll get something in the space of the middle of the night, and instead of like writing it down or whatever, I'm like, I'll just go back to sleep. I'll remember it when I wake up and then I forget. But it's carrying through the energy of that moat, right? And the last time I saw an eagle in a dream, it was just flying around. And I even said, it's like, I feel like it's searching for something. And in that space, it reminded me of this world tree that had silver leaves at the top. And the eagles loved the silver leaves for whatever reason. And the prey animals, yeah, the prey animals built their homes under that tree because the eagles offered them protection from what would prey on them. These eagles don't prey on the rabbits and the lamb. And so the rabbits and the lamb they go to where the eagles nest because they know that nothing else is going to mess with them there. And it felt like the eagle was looking for a space to drop a seed from that tree to grow a new tree because it's time to branch out, it's time to expand. And I'm like, well, if this eagle is trying to grow a tree, I don't know how long that's going to take to grow. But also maybe the seed physics are different here. Um, yeah. And I'm like, I'll be like something like this big, or like I get it so well now, like I'm not going to forget this. And I do. It's fine. That's why I'll have like the same dream over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Like it'll drill that feeling into me. And then when I talk about it here, then I'm able to get sleep. I'm like, okay, I must have done something remotely right because now I can rest and I'm not being bombarded with the same message as I go to bed and wake up like 5 times in the middle of the night. And every time I'm like, maybe I should write it down. No, I'll go back to sleep. Maybe I should write it down. No, I'll go back to sleep. But this displacement replaced, that's this. That's what Eagle is doing. It's replacing this displacement. So all of this is behind the driver's seat right now. And there are 6 more positions to read. But there aren't like 15. Oh, wait, I need another card. I said I was doing that. So we got embodying hope, a fount of truth, a tongue of light. Is that the two of clubs? We got the two of spades and the two of clubs, the two black twos that came out first. And again, all of this is under left leg submission. That's that two-way street. That's that communication, right? So it is for us to have our own internal homeostatic balance. And like I said, that's the moat. That's the spinning thing. We have it internally. And then there's also the shift externally. And it's the rotation of these two forces. It's where these two electromagnetic fields meet, the one from the internal, your internal sort of toroidal, auric, whatever energy, and that which sort of naturally exists and cycles through in the environment and how they interact with each other, that sort of like builds out this field that is your reality. It's kind of sort of your sphere of influence a little bit, because how I saw it was like in the beginning, like when it's slower moving, then the external is a lot closer. But as you pick up internal momentum, it's like as you get more force, then it's like it naturally pushes that outside ring further out. And the space between you, or the space between the inner ring and the outer ring, as it grows, it's like it increases the potential. And typically, like the further it would get, oh girl, do I even remember? It's physics. It's a capacitor. It's like a backup generator. As you put electricity through a capacitor, after a certain point, it'll start to store electricity. So if you remove the power source, then it'll start to drain from what was stored, and it keeps the circle turning even after it's gone off. That's another thing, because my light was freaking out yesterday. And so I just turned off the light switch, and usually it goes off immediately. But it had like, it was still like flickering for like a good like 60 to 80 seconds. I'm like, okay, that's an over exaggeration. It was still flickering for like a good like 10 to 15 seconds. Oh, that was a lot. That's still a lot. I get like 5 seconds. Okay. It felt like longer because I'm like, this thing doesn't have any power. Why is it still flickering? It was like a good 3 to 5 seconds. Okay, hold up, wait. It doesn't matter. I'm trying to get the. It was like a good like 1 to 3 seconds. I feel comfortable with that. For like a good 1 to 3 seconds, it was still flickering, and I'm like, it doesn't have power anymore. Why is it still doing this? And I'm just like looking at this light, like, could you please just like get it together? Because every time it resets, I gotta the tube. Here's the tubes. So we're going to get into this because everything is a synchronicity, and that there's nothing that you know about me. Just know that I take signs in literally everything. You probably know that about me if you watch me. If you've watched me like 2 times, you could probably figure it out. So in this box, this video is not sponsored by Sylvania. Sylvania is interesting because it reminds me of the name of the fairy that Miss Remy got when she did the Outside Fairy World. It was like Sylvanus. I don't remember the name. But inside this box, because I have the light bulb in my lamp and then a light bulb in my overhead light, there are these 2 books. Oh, wrong side. No, this is it. Yeah, here it is. There are these 2 little packets, right? And so the code to connect my phone to the light bulb, it's one of these. And I have a 50-50 shot at getting it right. Now, I could make it 100% if the next time I connect my light, I literally take a pencil, a pen, anything, and I write right on top of the code. I'll show you the codes. And I write right on top of the little QR code, L for lamp, O for overhead, 1 or 2. I could designate it. I could take the guesswork out. And I thought of doing that last time. But I was like, I never, like, when's the next time I'm going to have to do this again? And like, I sort of intuitively guessed right. I was like, I think it's the first one. And it was. So it's like, well, since I guessed it right, then maybe I'll guess it right next time. And I could make this more easy and convenient on myself next time. But oops. I mean, if, okay, sure, whatever. Butterfingers today. It's going to be that kind of day where I drop everything. It's fine. That's the energy of this too. It's like this guesswork, right? And that guesswork is like, well, if you're in a good environment, you'll be mostly good. If you're in a not great environment, eventually your environment will sort of like creep in on you and you'll start to be not great. But neither way is necessarily better than the other, because either way could be missing that piece where you can internally regulate, right? And it's like your chakras, your energy centers, they naturally sort of balance out and flow and like they naturally cleanse themselves. But it's when we encounter blockages, or yeah, it's when we encounter blockages that things sort of start to build up and they can start to get stagnant. And then we have to clear the chakras to allow that energy to flow. When energy is fluid and flowing, it's just like running water. It aerates itself. You don't really have to do too much to running water besides not dump toxic stuff in it, right? Um, and that's what this is. There's a lot of dependence and reliance on the outside. And it's like ego is coming in like, okay, but like, what's missing? It's inside the oyster. All right. And that was the thing about submission, with this being left leg submission. And it said, like, we have the one of them is responsible for resisting, the other one is the, where's the book? Let me just read it out of the book. There was another R word that I can't remember. Oops. Here we go. One of them is relinquishing. I'll just read it. Through the two opposing characteristics of Had and Netza, relinquishing and resisting, we gain the power to move. Together they form the power to carry ourselves through the world with grace and intention. So, like, surrendering is only half of what it is for us to do, right? Because if all we did was surrender, then we'd be like these little puddles that never went anywhere. Like when we step, like when we exert energy to step, and when we push down and we meet the ground, that's sort of like how that's like Homo erectus, right? That's when we start walking upright. Or maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know. But that's when like the spine started to straighten a little bit, and we weren't like walking around on like all fours, right? Surrender is important, but you know, that resisting is also important. It's what gives us the ability to move. It's like when you flex or when you tense and then release, tense and release, tense and release, it makes life happen. I don't know. Take it as a resonance. So, next, we have these two aspects. The first is Astibius. I wish I had my other glasses. It's fine. I'll make do. I just need to spend the dollar. Estibus, Angel of Divination, and Keter, the Crown, Spirituality. These don't feel like they're opposed. Keter is like universal knowledge, universal wisdom. It's the capital T truth. It's the capital TRUTH truth. The angel of divination is our ability to sort of get this, to come into contact with this. And it's interesting because Keter is sitting in the space of the dark, and Estivus is sitting in the space of light. It's very much so high priestess. It's like the things that we don't know and the things that we do know. This is everything that we don't know. This is our ability to sort of get information. Ooh. So we have the camel with divination and the nine of clubs, and immediately met request a land where all seasons reside and a return to center, all with this angel of divination. Now, when it comes to spirituality, we have the golden egg and the 10 of clubs. Nearly awakened hidden power, breath that takes the shape of one's truest desires and a commitment to self. That nearly awakened hidden power, it feels like this golden egg is like shaking, it's moving, it's about to hatch. Now, what I love about the camel is that it's the integration of the elements of like fire and water, right? It exists in an environment full of fire, and it's as well adapted as it is because it has evolved the ability to hold water within. And the fact that it holds that water inside of itself, it protects all of that water from like immediately evaporating. If the water inside the camel was exposed to the outside, it would dry up, it would evaporate, and not that long of a time. It's like it protects and preserves something so that it's like it can be used where it's supposed to, right? It's just like when anything that has, well, babies in general, like when you have a baby inside of you, it reminds me of the dream carrier, because the dream carrier, the empress in the mystical dreams tarot, it spoke of that like sort of postpartum depression of like when the baby is inside of you, it's not exposed to anything outside of you that will bring it harm or danger, and it's you can sleep easier at night knowing that nothing's going to happen because it's within you, it's protected. And once you give birth, it's like it's no longer as protected as it was before because it's out in the world now. It's able to interact with the world now, right? The water inside of the camel, it's protected. It's not going to evaporate. It's not going to go anywhere. And there's an energy of like getting something to where it's needed, right? So the egg, or like whether it's an egg birth or a live birth, it holds the fertilized egg long enough for it to mature into something that can interact with the world and not just be like a single cell or like 4 cells or 16 cells or what 124 cells or whatever, because it continues to double and double and double, right? It's like imagine putting like you know half of a cell that is an egg and half of a cell that is a sperm together and just sitting it out somewhere and expecting it to grow into a fully developed anything. So let's get into the book. Do I need the book on these? Not really. No, we're not going to do it this time. But I am going to get 2 more cards for these. Actually, I will. Because there's something about divination, the camel, and actually, so with these 2 cards being the horses that drive this chariot, I feel like we're in a good position. So everything that I was saying about us needing to have like an internal homeostatic system that, we don't have to run out to the sun when we start to get cold. Because if it's the middle of the night and there's no sun, then are we going to just freeze? It's like, no, right? Or needing to pull into the shade when it gets hot. Because if it's the middle of the day and we're in the desert and, ain't a lot of shade around, then we'd be burnt up. Um, but I feel like with these two cards, that balance is established inside. And that's why the angel of submission is driving this now. Because now it's to allow ourselves to communicate with the outside in more of a two-way rather than a one-way, right? It's like it's almost like, manifestation and attraction. It's about building something inside of yourself and then projecting it, forcing it out into your reality. But it's like if the external resources aren't available in a way to flow specifically in the way that you want it or need it, or the only way that you'll accept it, then it's like this request that will never be met because something about the positioning doesn't bring it in. But when we can relax that in order to allow it to sort of build itself naturally, like we use sort of like locally available, or like we substitute the things that can be substituted, then it's like we get it, right? It's not like I will only take ingredients from this one specific area and part of the world that is not currently exporting that. So you're gonna wait until they start to export that again, or will you take like this substitute that will do? And not only will it do, it may actually work out better for you, right? Type of energy. It's about communication now, and that's like it's the unicorn, right? So not the it's more so this angel of divination and like prime spirituality. So yeah, it feels like we're good on that side. This is what this is, right? As we move forward. So now I will read. Because an immediately met request is here, and a land where all seasons reside. In a land where all seasons reside, that internal homeostasis is important because it gives you the ability to sort of maintain function, right? It's like being in any area of the world where there is this specific time of year where you experience multiple seasons in the same day. You probably wear layers. If it gets warmer later, it's like if it's colder in the beginning of the day, you layer up, and as it gets warmer throughout the day, you take off layers, right? And then you carry an umbrella with you just in case because it just spontaneously rains sometimes. Or maybe one of your layers, like you get a little plastic poncho that you can put on top of yourself so you don't get wet. Right? You adapt to the outside because you're not going to necessarily change the weather, but you can prepare yourself to adapt as the weather changes, right? And that's what this feels like. That's why it's so important. And also, there's a return to center here, however that works. Kushiel, who was that? Angel of Punishment. The hunter whose prey is falsehood. Oath breakers beware. I've never seen that angel. There's an angel in this deck that I have never seen. Sahakiel. Oh, wait, that's the gate, right? The gate of Sahakiel? Oh my gosh! The shield bearer and the gatekeeper who stands outside the gateway between Angelarium and the expanse of existence. I kept talking about the gate of Sahakiel. I didn't even see. I haven't, because in the year two, I think I looked through the cards to find Sahakiel. I was like, I don't even see Sahakiel. Well, Sahakiel is in here somewhere. What? I've never seen. I don't think I've ever seen him though. Here in Ireland, we rarely get all season, all weather in a single day. Yeah, so it's like we can complain about it. Here in the Midwest, it happens too. And then it'll just like randomly be snowing at some point throughout the day. Like when I stayed with my friend at one point, it was like super windy and snowing pretty hard. Hey Casey, how are you doing? And it's just like, this is Midwest. You just gotta, it is inconvenient. Yeah. Wait, is your birthday today? Wait, were you the person? Did you tell me that your birthday was today? And I forgot. I'm so sorry. Because now that you say happy birthday, I feel like, wait, somebody told me that their birthday was on the day of the full moon. And I know that you're a Gemini. So happy birthday, Casey. Happy birth season. And happy full moon. Excuse me. So who am I looking for? Hasmet I've seen. Shalegiel I've seen. I don't think I've seen Sahakiel. I've read the name before. Here we go. Estibus, Angel of Divination. So, you've called its name and so it has come, but you do not command what is foretold. Aestivus can only be an uncertain ally in these mercurial times. In these mercurial times, and we're in the middle of Gemini season. And Mercury's about to go retrograde in a few days, too. Aestivus reveals the ever-shifting rhythm of the skies and beckons us to observe the alignment of signs. Something is seen in the clouds, in the leaves, in the shadows. Something as glorious as fate. You observe something that could not, must not be real. Curiosity is your call to action. You are compelled to go. Signs are sacred geometry, a cup of tea, and a falling star. Yeah, see, that's why all of this energy is important, because it's like Aestivus, it comes out in moments and times where things are so uncertain. But it says that Aestivus reveals the ever shifting rhythm of the skies and beckons us to observe them. Right? It's like if and it's something that I just randomly noticed one day because it was a torrential downpour. And it's something that I guess I knew, but I had never paid attention to. But one day, well, because I had to work outside, and working outside means I can't just necessarily go inside. But it kind of smelled like rain, and it just felt like it was going to rain. And then there was this huge gust of wind that blew in. And I was like, oh, that's the wind that blows before the rain like pours down. And like within a minute, it just started raining so hard. But before that, like I had never consciously thought that before. But now I'm just more aware of the wind, and changes in the wind. And so, like, if I'm walking somewhere and it's warm, but these cold bursts of wind come in, it's like there's a really cool breeze, and then it gets warm, and then it's cool, and then it's warm, and then it's cool and warm. That's like it's the perfect situation for atmospheric things to begin happening. The cool air comes in denser, heavier than the warm air, and it pushes the warm air up, and then storms happen, right? Like those are the signs that we can kind of sort of naturally feel that tell us that something is coming. And it gives us the time to prepare for it, right? So the energy of the camel and this land where all seasons reside, it's coming through with an energy of like we have what we need to weather, to survive, to maybe even thrive in whatever this is. But we need to, it would serve us to have some kind of internal stability in sort of doing that, right? So it's like, regardless of the situation, you'll be able to survive or not survive. You'll be able to sort of like flow. Now, you probably shouldn't subject yourself to a toxic environment for prolonged periods of time, regardless of if it's like you or the environment. We can also boundaries. This is healthy boundaries as well. And it's the healthy boundary that allows the camel to hold water. It's the boundary that keeps the water from evaporating, right? That boundary just so happens to be the body of the camel. Um, so now here's divination in a mercurial time where everything is shifting and the nodes are sort of Sagittarius, and North node is in Mercury. South node is in Jupiter. Keter. I don't know how to pronounce these. The crown spirituality, the first emanation, the first utterance, the font of energy through which Ein Sof emanates into the universe. A font of energy where we have the fount of truth right there, and a tongue of light. So, like, love that energy. The crown sits above the head and embodies that which is beyond our comprehension. One must envision Keter not as an object that can be perceived, but as the light that is cast upon it. Keter's light is beyond knowability, a timeless expanse of pure consciousness. Only through respect for our own limitations do we begin to see the shadow of its nature. It is the dark orb beyond which lies the infinite, and it's in this position of the dark, so that makes sense. As the highest point on the tree, all continuums cascade downward from it. Keter stands in contrast to Malkuth, who rests at the very bottom of the tree. The eagle! The eagle is at the top of the tree. Oh my gosh! It should be the third card because I put them back in order. The eagles are at the top of the world tree, right? And then there's that thing that feels like it's missing, through which everything sort of like emanates. And then we see the black orb on top of Keecher's head, right? But I don't want to say the eagle is a lower manifestation, but it feels like now this it's carrying an energy of an attempt to grasp the unknowable. And it's like this is as close as the eagle can get to whatever this is. It's like there's this really intense field around it. Like it can penetrate the white and the yellow and the orange, but it can't break through the red and then like sort of like the dark, right? That's like the core of the earth. There's like sacred consciousness that rests within it. Anyway, it reminded me of that. So let's continue. Ace to be said, look at the signs. Look at all the signs. Signs, look at all the signs. The signs, look at all these signs. As the highest point on the tree, all continuums cascade downward from it. Keeper stands in contrast to Malkuth, who rests at the very bottom of the tree. The span that lies between them measures the complete distance from the most spiritual to the most physical aspects of our existence. Journeying downward from this point, all other emanations become increasingly close to our present experience, found in spiritual epiphany, faith, and humility. Now, I'm looking at the tree. So, what's driving this is the right leg, or was it the left leg? Was it left leg, Hod? I think it was the left, right? Hod, where you at? Are you on the left or the right? The left or the right? The left or the right? Yes, the left leg. Right? Hold up, wait. Girl, where are you? Left leg submission, Hod. Yes, it's the left. And we have the left eye. The bottom of the deck is the left eye knowledge. So here we have the very top of the tree sitting at emanation 1. Netza is emanation A. No, Hod is emanation 8. We have Bina, emanation 3. And then, like, here's Malkuth, right? So we sort of, this is at the bottom of the deck. This was far out. This is what's behind the Sword of Seed. And so we're more removed from this, but that's what divination is about, though. It's channeling, funneling, trying to bring down that which is like up here to that which is down here where we can see it without removing that from its space and position. It's not like collapsing everything inward. it maintains the integrity and the structure of the tree, which is important, right? It's like, call me selfish, but I very much so like and appreciate having an individual experience rather than being a part of some supreme consciousness that's just like out chilling somewhere. Like, I like sleep. I like food. I like the internet. I like video games. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of challenge, but I like the feeling of like overcoming it. I like growth. And it's like you can't really grow when you're omniscient, all knowing, omnipresent, omnipotent. Like, there's no real expansion there. And personally, I'm a fan of expansion. So, you know, let's keep this thing sort of going, right? It doesn't have to be like all weird and stuff, but there are tiers and levels, and we get to experience, right? We get to experience. And I am so ready to experience life. I've spent so much of my life afraid of experiencing life that now I'm like, I want all of the experiences. So that's where we are. And then Keter is coming out with the golden egg and this nearly awakened hidden power. This nearly awakened hidden power, it almost feels more like remembrance, though, than anything else. Oh my gosh, the golden egg. Yesterday, the memory keeper came out, and the memory keeper felt like who and what we were. It's closer to who and what we were before the forgetfulness and the separation and the distortion and like life. But this is like taking us all the way back to like the cradle. Oh, I just noticed this. The orb above Keeter's head, right? And then this shiny, can you see it? There you go. That which is the symbol for ether in this deck. I think it said, did I finish reading that? Was Aestivus found in sacred geometry? Or was that, what was Keeter? Did I finish reading that? Or was Keeter found in sacred geometry? No. So it was Aestivus. Aestivus is found in sacred geometry. And there is some geometry. Yeah, there is some sacred geometry on the golden egg. There is something here that is guiding us to the truth of who we are. And it goes back to that feeling I got after watching Amanda's guided meditation, Anam Messages. It was like, you don't know who you are, do you? And it's like, it's this. Like, in truth, right? Because I'm a human. I can choose to be whoever, whenever. But it's like a core essential, because it's related to the essence, truth. And it reminds me of the Giver of Names. Whenever Samyaza came out, at first Samyaza was weird. At first everything was weird. And then it was like, okay, well, this is like, now we're mending this relationship between ourselves and the divine in whatever way that resonates for you. And it was that entry, it was like there was a light. Oh, and it talked about it with Keter. It's like there was the light that was shown from the heavens and it cast a shadow upon the earth. And one day that shadow looks up and remembers what it was or what it is. And that's when it gets its name. And it was Samyaza, the first. And it was like there's something about remembering who we are, there's something about a name. But a lot of old names, a lot of titles, they're descriptors. right? It is the one who does this, who is this, who accomplished or conquered that, who brought this to a place in a space where it had not yet existed. The great whatever, right? And so in us and this incarnation, being guided and led to embody all of those things, that's when we remember sort of who we are. That's when we get closer to the truth of who we are. And it reminds me of Pinamue, how the old Pinamue, he is like when man died, he would write their names on stone and place it by their bodies. And in that, he made man like the angels. But after the great whatever happened, when the veil went up, it's like what hath been wrought on that fiery hilltop, these statues of man whose names the angels forgot. It's like Pinamue went and it like scratched the name out of every single stone that it had sort of carved to make us like the angels. And it's like there were certain things that maybe in the past would find us by name. But in this space of where like there's this veil of forgetfulness, right? In the space of free will and free choice, it's like, well, this is my name and I would like my power, please. And it's like, okay, well, since it's your name and your power, you call it back to you, it's yours. But without having to go through that process of development and like spiritual maturation, then it's like, things got weird. And it's like now it doesn't go based off of the name. Now it goes based off of deed. It goes based off of actions. It goes based off of intent and intention. So we don't do all that weird stuff that we'd feel entitled to if we were just like, oh, this is my name. And in this incarnation, I've been wronged, and I am going to go and smite all those who ever wronged me in life. And it's like, well, there goes half of the population, right? It's like it's not about that anymore. The camel. The weekly release was all about sort of like duality and navigating multifacetedness in a way where it puts us in a space of strength, utilizing the best of all characteristics, right? We are both spiritual and physical creatures. We are made from both man and woman. There is masculine and feminine that exists within all of us. We are multi part beings. And when all of those parts are in alignment, that's when we come into the fullness of what we have the capacity for. That's what Camel is also speaking of. That's where these requests are immediately met. And it's like that's the space that spirituality is trying to return us to. Okay. This is so long. I think this is actually the next spread that I have to do. So I just finished spread number 6. So yeah, spread number 7 is next. So I need to make the thing for this. Ooh, girl. I feel better about this one now, though, that spread 6 is done. Because when we first started spread 6, like when everything was out for spread 6, I was like, oh my gosh. That's why I was like, you're gonna have to do some grounding or something in this space because I am not ready. But then it ended up working out. It always works out, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised by this point, but it's still a little intimidating. Or a lot intimidating. Okay. So this is like very much so the outside energy. So moving both of these a little closer to the where they meet. Girl, what is this? Oh, that's my lens. Oh gosh. Oh. Phanuel, the angel of truth. He came out with Semyaza. He's the one who waits at the throne, waiting for you to remember, waiting for you to become, waiting for you to claim, waiting to bestow. There's an energy of bestowment between divine feminine and divine masculine energy. Here's Phanuel sitting next to the angel of divination. It's the angel of truth. And that's coming out with the snake who's holding all that like flower of life magic within it. That's that Ouroboros. This is again, it goes back to that reading yesterday when the angel doesn't have to come down and force us to act right or be right or to do things for us that we can empower ourselves to do. Now it bestows, right? Because in the force card in strength, the presence of the angel, it blocks the magician that manifestive energy in the back. But this, with the angel of truth, is sort of all encompassing, and the six of diamonds. Also, we're about to backpedal real quick because I forgot to pull the second card for these two. So we have the two of diamonds, another two, and the eight of spades with this 10 of pentacles. So the two of diamonds is a forced uprising, an ancient word that stirs ancient things to life whispered. That's what I said. And this is coming out with the camel and the angel of divination, right? That's why times are so mercurial. That's why things are in such a space of almost lawlessness. It's forcing things within us to come to the surface. It's forcing us to come to these it's forcing us to realize, to recognize things and to come, yeah, to have these realizations. I'll try to put like recognition and realization to recognition. Now, with that nearly awakened hidden power, the breath that takes the shape of one's truest desires and a commitment to self, we have coming out rearrangement and coagulation, seeing the truth of the self and distorted creations abound. It's really sort of that, it is that rearrangement energy and that seeing the truth of the self with spirituality and this golden egg. And the distorted creations that abound, it's like those are sort of the things that, in some parts it's the things that work its way into us, in other parts it's when we choose to be that which is further outside of alignment with who we are, because now it's like it tries to like put these extra pieces and extra things on to make it hold that shape, right? So just had to do that because I forgot. So on the bottom, how what moves spirituality even closer is Gabriel, angel of heralds. And again, Gabriel has that little missing orb there, right? Just like the eagle had that little thing that was missing, there's that thing right there that's missing in the center of that thing. And it's like it powers it up. And who has that? I guess Keter, apparently. Apparently, the divine has it in safekeeping above the ground, in the space where we can't even begin to fathom things. And that's coming out with the beaver and the six of hearts. So the six of diamonds up top, the six of hearts down here. Maximizing or minimizing, limitation or support, look to the root. And it feels like beaver is sort of building that foundation. But again, like I feel like this is telling me, or it's reminding me more of beaver when it came out that we have these sort of energetic, we have this energetic body that we can look at as the chakras, and these different blockages, it's these beavers, right? And a lot of times what we do is we try to go in and forcefully displace these beavers, and we succeed for a minute, but then the beavers come back and they build the dam again, and it's like we keep getting blocked in the same areas. It's like we got to go to the beavers, we have to listen to the beavers, listen to their concerns, figure out why they keep building their nests or whatever in this position, and we have to find somewhere else for them to go so that they don't come and like keep blocking these chakras. And it's like as you follow the chakra trail backwards, it's like eventually you hit this fount, the font that was mentioned here. That is, it's this. Oops, not that. Is it this? What is this? Yeah, it is that. I guess that nearly awakened hidden power, right? It's this. We find who we were when we were this golden sort of idea that the divine had. When the divine was like, okay, I'm about to do that thing where I break my consciousness into lots of tiny little aspects. And it feels like the divine had a plan for every single one. I don't, is that? Take it, take it as it resonates. But it feels like in humanity, there are there lies an opportunity to become more. That's why it's an egg. Because we have free will, because we have choice, and because we're subjected to such a vast array of experiences, it's like there's an opportunity for something to become even more. Kind of like what I was saying last night, where I was like, I feel like I'm a fire air soul, but this water earth dominant incarnation gives me the opportunity to sort of like grow and develop in ways that I might not have necessarily in other spaces. It also reminds me, like, this is something that I've talked about before, that it feels like the soul itself is evolving. And I don't know necessarily how that happens because a lot of times we view the soul as this complete thing that sort of doesn't really change. It's like when we embody different aspects from incarnation to incarnation, we kind of sort of grow and develop, but it feels like a soul itself is evolving. A soul itself is becoming more. The soul itself is ascending. Gifts are evolving. More than unlocking, more than like being upgraded, they're evolving. There's a space of evolution. And it's like when things are subjected to the external reality, just like as we subject ourselves to the sun, it's like it's able to experience spontaneous mutagenesis where things just sort of mutate. And it can be like a more negative, detrimental mutation, or it can be a positive mutation, like X-Men, right? If you want to think about it that way. And it feels like that's why the golden egg is here. Almost like there was something that couldn't be done, attained, achieved, or experienced as self. It needed another to experience it or to encourage it, to coax it, to grow it. And so that's why there's like so many of us, right? Instead of it just being like, if the divine wanted to experience love, then like you have the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and between them, they can love each other. And like, that's it, right? You don't really need, a universe full of creatures and beings to experience that, right? And again, I guess it makes me think of like, why is it so important that we raise collective consciousness if it's something as simple as, well, in my own reality, I resonate to the 5D, so I will experience the 5D, right? Why is it so important that we completely raise everything if it's something that we can sort of individually experience within ourselves? Like, why are there so many different pieces if some of these things could be sort of experienced in fewer? That's the thing, that's the realm of the things that we can't comprehend. Or that's the realm, it's encroaching upon the realm of the unknowable, right? Because it's like, well, the divine like wanted to experience what it was like to love, and so it split itself so it can know love, and so it could also know what it is to be loved. But it's like, well, you can do that with like two. If you want a community, you can have like a family, right? If you want a dog, it's like 10, 20, right? You don't need this many for that. Anyway, that's a question to put on the shelf. So here, this beaver is exactly. Oh, that's how I got there. I was like, how did I end up here? Because as we follow the energetic trail, there comes a point where we have to sacrifice the hermit's lantern, the Hierophant's lantern. There comes a point where the hermit has to sacrifice what the Hierophant gave him, or her, or them, to go even deeper. And that's when we really enter the sacred corridors of self, where I guess Phanuel awaits us. That's like our truth, right? Oh, look, he's got that glowy thing. I said that Gabriel was missing something. Well, Gabriel probably isn't going to be able to give us all of that dark orb because again, it's things that we can't even begin to know, understand, and comprehend. But on top of his head, what fuels that fire is this orb, this glowing orb thingy right there, right? And you can see how it fills the brazier, the torch that he holds. And there's a glowy space here. It's like, what could go there? I would say maybe it's the embodiment of this fire of truth. The truth will unlock something. Girl, don't ask me. I don't know. I'm just down here with just like the rest of us. We all down here together, experiencing the great unknown that is Earth and what is becoming of it and what will become of it because we're still choosing as a collective of individuals. Anyway, the beaver. Before I went all the way down there, we're stopping at 7. We're stopping at 7 chakras. And everything that lies beyond is beyond. We have to find somewhere for those things to go, or else they'll just continue to sort of reblock and reblock and reblock, and the blockages will form again, right? And so that's why it's carrying the energy of maximizing or minimizing, right? Limitation or support. And we look to the root because the root will tell us if we're sitting in a space of being cohesive with something, where when we experience resonant frequencies build off of each other and they amplify each other. But if it's a destructive sort of interference, then these frequencies sort of chip away at one another and it mutes them. That's the limitation, that's the minimizing, right? Resonance and cohesion is the maximizing, it's the support, it's the amplification. It reminds me, and maybe it'll come out, but it reminds me of a bell that brings the intangible and the physical into union, chimes out into the universe. What is it? Cohesion or collision or cohesion. It reminds me of that energy, um, which might be the 10 of hearts, maybe. I've seen the card enough. I should know. It's either the 10 of hearts or the 10 of diamonds. No, the 10 of hearts is the stargate that leads to fantastic places. I think it's the 10 of diamonds. But anyway, so up here to the angel of truth with the snake, which is the Ouroboros, and also lately I had the threads of fate and the ruler of wands came out, and it's like our power lies in our ability to be sort of self-contained, self-controlled. The King of Wands, Ruler of Wands in that deck has this wand. It has the crown, and then around the crown is the Ouroboros. And so the Ouroboros in that deck, to me, is when we have our ego under control, right? It's not that we don't have an ego. It's not an absence of an ego. It's not a destroyed ego. It's an ego that is in balance with the spiritual self, right? And that's what chariot energy is all about. It's about getting them on the same page, not completely annihilating or unhitching one of the horses. If you unhitch one of the horses, then that's like your chariot is operating at half capacity, half power. What am I looking for? Why do I literally just have this book? I don't know. It's under my glasses. I don't know how I set something down and then like 2 seconds later, I immediately forget where it is. So, Phanuel, Angel of Truth. And it's funny that I was just talking about Semyaza. Is it funny? Maybe it's not funny. Because I was just talking about Semyaza and how Semyaza on Earth, living the same 3D experience that everyone else was, came to the place of realizing, remembering, recognizing who he was. And in that, he reclaimed his name, right? It's like we moved out of the time where you remember who you are, boom, you have everything. Now it's more about deed and it's about action. But again, a lot of names of old, like their titles, they're descriptors, right? So if you become that, then you are that. Here it is. Phanuel, angel of truth. Phanuel will wait for your arrival. It was here long before you arrived, standing at the threshold to the throne room. You may not have borne witness. Its sound may have escaped you, but Phanuel has waited there for you, eager to wrap you in a cloak of truth. Reality is ever present. It is a simple matter to find it. It is another, much more difficult task to understand that its truth can be different from capital T truth. The truth of reality can be different than absolute truth or a more global truth, a more universal truth. Reality is ever present. I guess I'll read this again. Reality is ever present. It is a simple matter to find it. It is another, much more difficult task to understand that its truth can be different from capital T truth. Hold the torch high. See what stands before you for what it is. Found in wine, speaking of wine, found in wine a torch and a bleeding eye. And it reminds me of that phrase I learned in Latin. And vino and ire et in Jungo? Veritas est? In wine, in anger, and in childhood, there is always truth. When you get drunk, you speak your truth. When you're upset and when you're angry, you speak the truth. And some children can't help but tell the truth. As much as we would prefer that they lied to us sometimes, right? Oh, and then here's the egg, which is the juvenile. It's a juvenile childlike energy, right? It's the truth before it's sort of been, I don't want to say corrupted, but before it fits itself to our world. Why am I holding up the beaver? I'm gonna hold up the beaver and read the message of Gabriel, because that's the card I meant to grab. Angel of Heralds, the guardian that stands beside you, the guardian that stands beside the gateway between Angelarium and the rest of existence, the gate of Sahakiel. What? Because in the other card, Gabriel, oh, that's another thing. It said that hold the torch high, see what stands before you for what it is. One of the Gabriels in year two says he's the angel of. It's like when he lifts his lantern, everyone will see it. It is what it is, like that lantern of truth. Oh my gosh, that's what I said, right? Something about Phanuel plugs into Gabriel. In year two, Gabriel is the one holding up the lantern. But the light inside the lantern comes from the angel of truth. Oh my goodness. Now I want to pull those cards, but I won't. I want to prove it, but I don't have anything to prove. So I'm not going to do that. That would be the only reason why I do that. So, the guardian that stands beside the gateway between Angelarium and the rest of existence. Gabriel's lantern points into the seething darkness. Its light breaks open the unknown and banishes doubt. There is certainty in this light. It fills you. This angel issues no command. It doesn't need to. Shine, little light, shine. Oh my gosh, I just played that at the beginning. We deserve to shine. Come through, synchronicity. Girl, wait. Shine, little light, shine. The impetus for action burns in you. In fact, you burn in it, fueling this light. Suddenly you burst forth, blazing the way, piercing the dark, leaving change in your wake. There is light everywhere you tread. You are the light of Gabriel's lantern. The might of this angel does not command you, it aims you. Signs are a lantern, a mirror, and a discovery. Again, I don't know why I'm holding up the beaver, but Here's Gabriel, if you were curious. So there are two energies with Gabriel. One of them is like it sits near the roots of the world tree, but more than that, it's the serpent, it's the snake. You can see like they almost look like feathered scales, so it could be Quetzalcoatl. This is an evolved snake, right? The snake at the end of its journey. And I don't remember why the snake is important, besides the fact that Semyaza has a white snake, Turiel has a red snake, and it felt like they were getting on the same page. But I feel like this. Oh, I don't know why the snake is important, because the snake card is literally right here. I was like, I don't know why the snake is important. Girl, that's where my brain is. But the snake rests with Phanuel. Again, it connects and ties the Angel of Heralds with the Angel of Truth. And, it's not surprising that the Angel of Heralds would have ties to the Angel of Truth because, why wouldn't it? It's not like we're heralding lies, right? Well, it's Gemini season, so we might be. I'm just playing. I'm kidding. It's not a lie. It's an embellishment on the truth. So in some ways, it's still truth. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The Three of Hearts. And, oh, it was the King of Diamonds. I told you it would be funny. So I'm pulling off of the top, right? This is the card. I said it would be funny. I'm like, it's reminding me of this one card. I think it's the Ten of Hearts. I think it's the Ten of Pentacles. It's the King of Diamonds. It's literally right here. And it's on top of the beaver, right? I was talking about how the beaver sort of gatekeeps our ability to maintain open energetic channels as the space of a blockage that keeps sort of springing up. Literally, with maximizing or minimizing limitation or support, look to the root to see which it would be for you. King of Diamonds, a bell that brings the physical and intangible into harmony as it pulses out into the universe. Collision or cohesion. Like, I love this deck. I love this little deck of cards because it does that sometimes. I'll be like, it reminds me of this energy. Like, it reminds me of this card in the deck. And then here's the card to certify, validate that the energy is indeed here. Oh my gosh. Literally on top of the energy that I was feeling it for. Thank you. So up here, I never read this card. So the snake and the angel of truth. So this inside, so we see the flame of truth has like a blue yellow sort of feel. We see blue yellow in here, but there's also like a white, pink, magenta energy. And it reminds me of, in Phanuel, it said it's like being able to separate and differentiate reality and the truths of reality from those more universal truths, like a lowercase t truth compared to a capital T truth or an uppercase T truth, right? And within the snake, we have both. So a single blade cuts through the tempest, calming the storm, calming the winds, a dislodged hunk of cheese, where form and function align, the power of words to brighten and terraform. And I guess the power of a spoken truth, since all of this is about truth. The power of a communicated truth to brighten and terraform. But, before we can communicate truth, we kind of sort of have to find it, right? So it's all a part of the same process. So now, moving to close after nearly 2 hours. I remember back in my, when I was first doing readings for people, I'm like, here's an hour video, here's an hour and a half video, here's a 2 hour video. It's like, oh my gosh. And at least it was personal, right? So hopefully it was more like consistently resonant. I'm like, girl, 2 hours, an hour and a half video. Whew, it's fine. So, okay. So let's move this down here so I can see all of these. So in the space of unison, which, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. In the space of how to unite them is Tiferet. It's the heart of the tree of life. That which literally connects everything, every emanation besides what? Keter and Malkuth. It might connect to Keter. It does connect to Keter, but it doesn't connect to Malkuth. It connects to Yesod, and Yesod feeds down into Malkuth. Um, so it runs like the upper majority, all of them. It runs all of them, literally in the heart. How to unite them? The heart of the world tree, coming out with the scorpion, interestingly enough, and the Queen of Clubs, bringing order to thought, proper delegation of tasks, seeing the internal through the external. And then the sort of the challenge or the resistance here, it's the angel of annihilation, and I'm actually going to take it in reverse. The angel of annihilation in reverse is the challenge to what is uniting these. It's interesting because time flies when you're having fun. It really does. And I don't even feel like I can tell that like quite a bit of time has passed, but like usually I'd be like hungry or something. But I guess I'm just so excited that I'm not even like worried about it right now. It's interesting that the scorpion came out in the energy of how to unite them, where the challenge came out with the angel of annihilation. I guess it's not interesting. It's just straight up resistance to what needs to be done. To unite them, it's calling in the energy of the scorpion, but the resistance is the energy of the angel of annihilation in reverse. The hummingbird is here in the space of the challenge. Oh, you remember the eagle? I'll just show you. If you don't remember, it's not going to take too long for me to just grab this card and show you. And look at where the hummingbird is. It's like the hummingbird is inside this space. Wait. Also, shout out to Russ wrestling around because why not? And because the way he sees hummingbird now, every time I see hummingbird, it reminds me of Russ and it being the space of the higher heart chakra and all those little Russ things, right? So here's the Ten of Hearts, and it also came out in reverse. This is a Stargate that, and I just mentioned this card. I was like, I think it's the Ten of Hearts, and I was like, no, because the Ten of Hearts is the Stargate that leads to fantastic places. Oh my gosh, the Stargate that leads to fantastic places with the hummingbird sitting in front of this like mystical, magical portal to who knows where. A Stargate that leads to fantastic places, correcting what has been misused and stabilizing timelines in reverse. This is pretty easy. What's actually going to bring these things together, what's actually going to unite us, is the very thing that a lot of us fear is separating us. It's like anytime you talk about a misdoing or an ism or an ist, it's like there's more fear. It's like it arouses more feeling to call out what is wrong, to bring attention to what needs to be corrected than the actual misdeed, than the actual wrong itself. It's more shocking and jarring to for some, it's more shocking and jarring for something to be pointed out than it is for that thing to actually occur or happen or to take place. And it's sort of like how we've been conditioned to like, this is it, just it is what it is. This is reality. This is the unfortunate truth of reality. These things happen, and the fact that you brought it to my awareness or that you brought it to attention means that you are the one who is the harbinger of this uncomfort, this discomfort, and I'm going to choose to ignore it and distance myself from it. This is when we love and light to the point that we don't actually do what needs to be done, where we don't actually engage healing because we're not willing to, I don't know, whatever we're not willing to do, we're not willing to do it. And because of that, it keeps these things that need to change, that need to transform, that need to experience transmutation from doing it. The Ten of Hearts, it says it's a typo, but it's correcting what has been misused. But there is no correction here because it doesn't face it. That's why the Scorpion and the Queen of Wands of all queens is sitting with the heart. Okay, the Queen of Wands has a lot of heart, but it's sitting in the space of uniting. It's sitting in the space of bringing seemingly disparate things together, right? You would expect like a Queen of Cups, maybe a Queen of Swords, maybe a Queen of Pentacles. It's like first I would put like the Queen of Hearts there, and then the Queen of Swords because she has that logistical mind, and then the Queen of Pentacles because, you know, well, the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords can like flip flop for second and third, but and on my radar, no shade to any fire sign, but I wouldn't necessarily think that the Queen of Wands would be the one that's going out and trying to unite the people. But again, with the energy of the Scorpion, and look at that fiery stinger, it's what's needed right now. And it makes sense that the Queen of Wands, because as the element of fire, it brings light. Fire can be destructive. It can be purifying and cleansing through its ability to generate ash, which will then provide nutrition for what grows on top of it. But it also brings light. And that's, again, that fount of truth, the tongue of light. The tongue of light, this energy here, the power to brighten, you see Brighten, to brighten, this lantern, the flame of truth, the tongue of light is here. The power of a spoken truth to brighten and terraform, to bring light to, but not only bring light to, but literally recreate, restructure something seen as rigid and fixed as earth, the element of earth. And like, again, right now, Uranus is in Taurus. So perfect time for the South Node to be in Sagittarius, for the South Node to have been in Capricorn, and for the South Node to now move into Scorpio, or to be in transit to moving into Scorpio. We have Uranus and Taurus that's gonna be in the position to like soften the earth enough for us to restructure it and to reform it. Fixed earth at that. The most fixed earth in Taurus. The Empress energy, Venus, right? And it's like you're not gonna convince Venus to do anything that she views as below her. But now Venus is like, you know what? That last time though, like it was actually cool. I feel like Venus, because I'm like, you know what? This is me with my other. Like, I got a lot of Taurus in me. My friend has a lot of Libra in him. So sometimes the Venus in me and the Venus in him just clashes. And we can both be kind of sort of a little fixed in that regard. But I'm like, you have proven that you are someone who is capable of making decisions that I like. So I now trust you to make more decisions, and I will meet you with less resistance. Because we went to Runcible Stone and it was really good. And it's because of that that I experienced the bliss that is tiramisu, and it was amazing. Um, so I'm glad that I wasn't so fixed and stubborn that time that I missed out on that. And it was funny because like, and he talks about me for it, But we're standing outside of Runcible Spoon. And I'm like, what do they have? He's like, well, it's kind of sort of cafe style, and they have like some breakfast food and some other things. And I was like, oh, I don't feel like breakfast food. I don't feel like breakfast. And he's looking at me, kind of sort of like knowing how I could be. And he's like, okay, well, what do you want? Because I'm not trying to argue today. What do you want? And I was like, well, we could go here or we could go there. I was like, actually, I don't know what I want right now. So I'm going to go with whatever you two want to do, him and his girlfriend, right? And he's like, okay, well, then we're going to come in here. And what did I end up doing? I ended up ordering biscuits and gravy with eggs. I ended up getting breakfast food, and I was just like, ew, I don't want breakfast food. Let's not go here. And we got tiramisu, and there was a picture with like Jesus and Spider-Man and Krishna and Lakshmi and all kinds of things. Like the art in Runcible Spoon was so much of like different layers of reality all existing in the same piece within the same painting, and it having a sort of like cohesive flow to it in a way that was very sort of like surprising, because there are so many different influences, so many different time periods, so many different, I guess I want to say, beliefs all thrown into the same arena, but it creating a space of harmony, right? It's like, let's move more into the light of what Sagittarius is, which is that more global, that more expansive, that adventurer, the one who is capable of appreciating and honoring different lands, different cultures, different customs, who seeks to sort of learn from it and not sort of force assimilation onto it, or that won't like steal from it and take from it and then decimate the people, right? You steal the culture and then you like decimate the people. You don't care for the people. You subject the people to harsh treatment. You subject the people, like you give the people the cold shoulder. They experience no love, no compassion, no care from you. But their culture, their food, their music, their art, their everything you want to engage in. And it's like, it's this very sort of sick American that I'm sure came from somewhere, because America came from somewhere, thing where it's like, and it's so weird. Like, you'll see people who will be so like pro border and so xenophobic and so against certain minorities, but it will sometimes be the same people who are like celebrating Cinco de Mayo. It's like, why are you celebrating Mexican independence on the day that isn't Mexican independence, when it's like you're treating Mexican people the way that you're treating, like you're holding these viewpoints and you're doing this at the same time. That like, there's something that isn't here. And it's this like, it's this gross and greedy almost entitlement that would make us feel, and like, it's like there's culture, customs, art, food, whatever. It's not any one person's to experience. That's for everybody, including me. But when it comes to treating those people with decency, when it comes to fairly compensating and improving the living conditions of some of the places where we get our most valued and prized spiritual tools, like, they can't experience enough of compassion where they can get some decent living conditions, where they can be fairly compensated for what it is that they do. We pay beans and pennies for that, and we sell it over here for millions. We create an entire industry off the backs of what? And the compassion, the consideration, again, it's not there. It's so focused on being love and light and positivity and joy that it doesn't see how it itself wreaks havoc and destruction. And whenever it comes to being checked, it refuses to be checked. It refuses to be acknowledged. And the hopes of sowing seeds of unity and compassion and togetherness, it creates further division. And what needs to change, like, that is a part of what needs to be transformed. That is a part of what needs to be changed. I watched the ayahuasca documentary, and it was like, it's so funny that, people come from like these Western civilizations to escape capitalism and like all of the burdens of it, but then they end up bringing their problems with it. Now, because of them, ayahuasca, sacred plant medicines, things that were naturally there are becoming commodified to the point where the locals can't even afford it anymore because all of these people with money are coming in and they're pouring money into it. You try to escape your greedy capitalistic society, but then you bring it with you wherever you go. It does just as much harm and just as much destruction. But again, this is the energy that will refuse to see it. This is the energy that will refuse to acknowledge it. This energy will unknowingly to itself perpetuate and carry forward the very energies that it seeks to ascend and to leave behind to the 3D. And it's like, congratulations, you're doing 3D on the light spectrum instead of doing 3D in the shadows. But that's not 5D just because you shift to the light scale or the light side of that polarity. Shifting to the light doesn't automatically bump you up a level because light and dark exists in all spaces until the space where they are inseparable. You just shifted to the other side of the scale. You just, you're a problem somewhere else now instead of being a problem where you were a problem before. And then we wonder why like things don't necessarily change that much. Yeah, it makes me, yeah. And she's like, she's doing it in a way that fairly compensates, that gives to those communities what they deserve. And it's time for spiritual people to do that just as much as it's time for non-spiritual people to wake up to spirituality. No one likes to see or face how what they do has an impact on others. Or a lot of people don't. They don't like to be called out for it. They get more upset that they're called out for it than they are like for doing the thing. Like whenever I get called out for doing something personally, I get more upset at the fact that I upset somebody than I am embarrassed or ashamed that they would call me out. Like let me know. Cause like I'm not trying to be out here upsetting or offending or whatever anyone. Now, to a certain degree, of course. Right. Because if you get triggered off of a truth, like regardless of if it's my truth, a single isolated truth that isn't for you, or if it's a truth that actually applies to you and you don't like hearing how it applies to you and you get triggered like that, that's not necessarily on me. But I am responsible for how I impact the world around me as someone who is here, as an individual in the collective, as a person on earth. And it's like sometimes we look at like concepts of oneness and we use oneness to almost like negate everything. But it's like if you truly believed or if you truly followed oneness, then you would want to exist in a way that is resonant, in a way that is cohesive, in a way that is symbiotic with that which is around you. Oneness is a dissolution of the self into the all. And then it's also a reestablishment of the self. And it's not everything around me is me. So now I get to be as selfish or self centered or greedy. Like everything outside of me is me, everything is mirroring me. And in my opinion, in my belief, oneness isn't this concept. Now, all of a sudden, the world is you. You are the world revolves around you. Nothing else matters but you in the world. And it's like, no, it's the ultimate call to be a part of everything, to be one in the all, because there is the all in each one. Yeah. And like, it hurts me to know that I hurt people because I'm like, I don't want to be that person. And then people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you called me out and blah, blah, blah. It's like, okay, let's put the defensive now. Let's put the defensiveness down enough so we can really start to build and establish. And it's like some people will call you divisive for calling out the fact that there is division. So rather than us focusing our energy and effort and attention on actually addressing what divides us, it's like we turn and we attack the ones or the things that will point out the division that is current, that is very much so real. It's like we ask for truth, like we're trying to divine truth. We get the truth, but then we're resistant to doing anything with that information. And it's like, what's the point of, so like you want to know the truth so you can more consciously ignore it? Like, is that the point? You want to be more conscious in whatever you're doing or not doing? It's like, okay, well, like, I don't know. Anyway, into the book. That's, maybe it's gonna say what I said, maybe it won't. Oh, I smell food. Oh, something smells good. And now here comes the hunger. Oh no, I was doing so well. I'm almost done. Tiferet. Tiferet is the heart. So if we look at the tree, so we've gotten one at the heart. Let me see if I can see. Let me put these glasses back up. One at the heart, 3 in Bina, left eye, knowledge, 8 in Hod, left leg, submission. And now we have 6, the heart, that is connected to all of these. It's connected to everything except Malkuth, but maybe it's also connected to Malkuth. That connection just runs behind Yesod at the root. So there we go. Now we got the heart. We worked our way to the heart. And the heart is, again, it's sitting in the space of how we unite this. But again, it's with the Scorpion, it's going to require some difficult transformation and some Queen of Wands energy. Bringing order to thought, proper delegation of tasks. Proper delegation of tasks is like a proper, it's not blame. It's us taking accountability for the things that we need to take accountability for. It's also us not accepting the things that we don't have, like, it's like not being falsely projected onto, but at the same time not being resistant to the unfortunate truths that we sort of may be partaking in, right? That's that proper delegation energy. And then seeing the internal through the external. And that's like that scorpionic ability to go like deep into something. And again, with that, the concept of like that oneness and the divine that exists within ourselves and the divine that exists within everything around us. So again, Amanda, thank you for making me or reminding me to be aware of that today in that guided meditation. But it's Tiferet at the heart. So I don't know why I literally just put this card down to pick it back up, but that's what we're doing today. We're doing the hokey pokey. So Tiferet, heart, beauty, the 6th emanation. The temperate force that allows the rest of the emanations to coexist in beautiful harmony. Tiferet is without extremes or absolutes. As each other aspect rages around him, he neither yields nor resists. He is the equilibrium that exists between those forces. He is the guiding hand that braces against the many aspects of the tree to gracefully bring them toward one another. The yellow orb brings balance to the universe. Forming the midpoint between Keter and Malkuth, he defines the pillar of balance. At the glowing center of the tree and the midpoint between all its relationships, he distributes energy from each emanation back across its paths. It's a careful balancing act, incorporating such extreme opposites, but this is the nature of the tree as a whole. Tiferet mirrors the structure of the tree, existing as a microcosm of the whole, found in art, health, and community. I just talked about art and culture and like certain, customs and community. Also, here's the energy of the mirror. And was it Gabriel or Phanuel that was found in the mirror? Phanuel is found in Wine, a Torch, and a Bleeding Eye. Gabriel is found in the mirror. Gabriel is found in the mirror. And I think that's happened maybe once already too, where it's like one will be the sign, and then the sign will sort of pop up, right? Gabriel is found in the mirror. Tiferet was the mirror, or was it? It wasn't found in the mirror. Girl, there goes my glasses. Calm down, Patrick. Calm down, slow down. Goodness, ain't nothing going nowhere. Tiferet was the mirror, right? Tiferet mirrors the structure of the tree, existing as a microcosm of the whole. And that's sort of like another aspect of oneness, how there is this microcosm of the all that plays out within all of us, but it's not necessarily for us to believe that we are the all. It's like you're a piece of the all, but you, in and of yourself, are not the all. You are one of many pieces. And so we learn to peacefully and harmoniously coexist with all pieces, and not in a way where our greed and our entitlement will have us taking from others. I already talked about it. I don't have to go further into it, right? So then this is sitting with the scorpion, and again, bringing order to thought, proper delegation of tasks, seeing the internal through the external. That's that microcosmic energy. Or what? Yeah, microcosm. That's that microcosmic energy. Seeing the internal through the external. And a lot of times, not necessarily always, sometimes the way that we treat others and the attitudes that we have towards others and the dismissiveness that we can have towards others is reflective of how we feel about self, or it's a reflective on some other part of self. So the challenge here, or what sort of restricts our ability to come into unity, is Hasmed, Angel of Annihilation, right there. I'll hold it upright, even though it's in reverse. Hasmed, Angel of Annihilation, the Unmaker, a terrible sight to behold, the void eating itself and making itself anew. That which should no longer exist is unmade by Hasmed's hands. There is something that needs to be removed. Look upon that which should not be and loose it from existence. Signs are a hood, an eclipse, and an empty field. Well, here's the very last angel with the sign of the eclipse, the angel of annihilation. It removes what needs to be removed. And in reverse, this is us not doing it. Not removing what needs to be removed, not correcting what has been misused because of this need for a lightheartedness. And it is a very almost tricky thing. And again, it goes back to the environment, it goes back to the self in relation to the environment, and how there's a balancing and a shifting in self and in the environment. And in a cohesive space, it sort of generates potential. So Tiferet is coming out with the Seven of Hearts. Ah! I don't know what that noise was. I'm excited, but I'm also hungry, so I don't have too much energy. Why is this card bent? Why is this card bent? Is this the only bent card in the deck? Hello? Goodness, girl. Oh, this card bent. This card bent. Why is this card so bent? No, please, no. What happened to you? So, Hasmed, the Angel of Annihilation, is coming out with a swaying tower that is moments from toppling, clouded vision and burning lands, and a powder keg. Again, not surprised to see it there. We're being made so painfully aware of everything so we can actually fix it and address it. My mama always says, the Bible says warning comes before destruction. And we will look at warning after warning after warning and spiritually bypass and dismiss and try to find our happy place. And it feels like that's the sort of Neptunian illusion, right? It's like we treat everything happening around us as an illusion, as that which is not real. And we seek further delusion inside in this rosy, rose tinted place. And what it does is it keeps us from experiencing the paradise that Earth could be when we actually do things to make it so, rather than going somewhere and imagining it so. And there is power in imagination, there is power in manifestation, the power to make it so. But eventually, we have to make it so. It's like you're manifesting things, the way is literally being shown to you. And instead of participating in a way or holding an energy that would see it made so, we refute, we further, and again, it was last year, right? When the George Floyd stuff started happening and when started happening, when it came back and when it sort of held resurgence on a level that it had never held globally. And it's like there were people who looked at the astrology. This is the astrology coming up. There's going to be illusions. There's going to be discord. There's going to be chaos. It's going to be all of this. Da 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 da. And none of it is real. None of it is real. And again, that's the danger in forming an opinion on something, being convinced of something before you even experience it. Because what's not real, what's the illusion, is this view of the world that we try to live in where everything is fine and everything is perfect. And because you're safe and because you don't personally experience anything, there's no need for you to be concerned with anything or anyone outside of you. What kind of oneness is that? What kind of 5D consciousness, what kind of age of Aquarius Christ consciousness that you're embodying? It's like Christ went to places where things were not. And he tried, or he did, he inspired it to be made so. It's not like Jesus didn't go around to all of the most glorious of places, girl. It's like he kind of sort of quite literally did the opposite. And he brought light to those dark spaces. He wasn't this light that sought out more light to have this light party. It's like nothing changes. What does that do to shift anything? It's like we're furthering the extremization, the extreme nature of this polarity. And just because you shift to light doesn't mean you automatically ascend a D. And just because you shift to dark doesn't mean you automatically descend. Light and dark exist in all places and in all spaces. If you really want to shift and elevate your consciousness, start bringing light to the darkness. Like, start caring about things that you couldn't be bothered to care about because it doesn't personally affect you. Age of Aquarius, I thought, was when people actually care about people. And it's people who aren't affected who can now sort of stand in line to help bring change to those spaces. Because before we know it, we're going to be in a space of needing something. And the same dismissive, it's like if you're the type of person who like would need something, and when you're in the space of, okay, not necessarily, because that's not necessarily true, right? We're just going to toss that out right now. It's just like when you're in the space of needing something, hopefully you will have someone there, right? And it's a lot of times when we can be dismissive of others when they're in a space of need, we can also find ourselves being dismissed when we're in a space of need, right? And it's like it's this totem pole, right? Eventually it's going to fall on you. If we're playing hot potato, if we're playing duck duck goose, if you play the game long enough, eventually you're going to be holding that potato. Eventually you're going to be the goose among the ducks, and you're going to be trying to find your place and find your space. It's like, can we just care about people? Because like I thought that's what the age of Aquarius was about. I thought that's what Christ-like consciousness was about. Like when we care about people, regardless of how far removed we are. But it's this, I don't know. Like I said, I've already said it, so I don't need to keep drilling the point. Like the point has been made. I can close this now. So with this, with the energy that can bring light to the dark, with the energy that will transmute, that will change, that will grow and evolve, we have a favorable turn of fortune, a powerful message duly received. And again, in this stuck space where we're not correcting for what has been misused, where we're not removing that which needs to be removed, we get a swaying tower that is moments from toppling, clouded vision and burning lands, and a powder keg. See, but that clouded vision, it may put you in a space where you don't even see how your own lands are burning. You don't see how the energy that you sort of put out into the world actually, through the property of what goes around comes around, it works against you. Bottom of the deck now is an internal truth burning to be seen, the yin side of masculinity, and a thrusty yet elegant dance. We're going to go with that internal truth burning to be seen. We have left eye knowledge, we have the owl, and this internal truth burning to be seen at the bottom of these decks. And again, I feel like, that it's something that we're in the space of already knowing. There are enough people sort of talking about it, hopefully, at this point in time, at this junction in time. And that's why, for me, myself personally, and if anything, last year only sort of further proved how important it is. It's like my concern isn't with the unawakened, with the what's his name, Mr. Anderson. Was it Smith? I don't know. My concern isn't with the bots in the Matrix. My concern is with the people who would like think that they've broken the Matrix, but then still carry out the same programming in elevated spaces because now they're coming into an awareness of the power of their belief, but they're not wielding or utilizing their belief combined with their actions because the magician uses every tool. The magician uses every tool, right? Like there's nothing that really creates this follow through. It sort of only keeps us actually more in the space that we're already in, right? It's like if something was happening, right? You wouldn't necessarily fear a child, right? It would be the one who was more mature, the one who has more sort of weight behind what they do and say, that is more of a concern. And it's, it's just for us to be aware of some stuff. The crow was at the cut. The crow was holding that jewel. It's that thing that the eagle was like, whoa, where'd it go? Ooh, shark. Shark and gazelle. That's predator and prey, but I don't think gazelles are too much worried about sharks. And I don't think sharks are too much trying to find a gazelle in the middle of the ocean. I can do the shuffle thing now. Oh, look, there's the snake again. Ooh, I figured it out. So, final animal card, energy. Now I'm starting to get warm and hungry. Oh, I just saw ants. Ants. Oh my gosh, that's the thing today. It didn't come out, but I saw it. Certain Mayan peoples believed that during a lunar eclipse, a jaguar or ant swallowed the moon. Ant swallowing the moon, it's the power of this corralled collective consciousness. It's the power of this collective of spiritual, awakened, enlightened, sovereign beings who will, from their place of spirituality, manifest a world where there are powers that be that are trying to, it's like it furthers like stuff that we don't like and stuff that we don't want, instead of shifting that into turning the will into something that we actually want. Just because we haven't experienced necessarily governments that have really been for and about the people does not mean that we can't manifest a space where they exist. And honestly, personally, I'm not looking to micromanage every single aspect of my life. That's not something that I want to do. It seems very exhausting, and I'd much rather enjoy my life. I much rather there be people who care about people who will do what they need to do for the betterment of all in positions of authority in systems that have the capability to make decisions, create law, and enforce law. So that's something that I don't have to worry about, right? I'd rather have people that are trustworthy and who do the right thing in those positions rather than just like completely dissolving anything. Like, I don't know. I'm not interested in living in a tribal world. Like, I'm not interested in going back to like old social dynamics. Like, I'd rather we sort of like just get it together and keep moving forward. But that's me, right? If you want to live a different reality, that's your sovereign right and ability to do, right? I'm not out here trying to force anything on anybody. I'm just like, some of this stuff that we're so eager to believe and accept doesn't seem to serve the people who believe in it. It doesn't get you what you actually want. And sometimes we're convinced that because the world is what the world is, that there is no other way to get what we want. But if you tell me that I'm a sovereign being, if you tell me that I have a piece of the all in me and that I literally create my reality, well, I'm going to create a reality that I want to be in, that is free of the limitations that I've experienced so far. Like, that's the gift in being able to create. It's like, oh, don't want any of that? Well, let's manifest none of that. And we don't have to throw the whole thing away, right? We just change it, transform it, evolve it. We allow it to evolve into something that suits the needs of now, that suits the needs of many and the all rather than the needs of a few and some. There's the snake at the end at the cut. Can I get an animal card, please? All right, let me stop talking so a card will come out. Like, I've already talked about this before. I don't have to beat this point into the ground. But we're in eclipse season, so maybe I do. Right? Maybe it's time that we start to do stuff. Thank you. I don't try, but it's fine. I am who I am. Ooh. The bottom of the deck is the rabbit. What's behind the rabbit? I'm curious. Okay. So the bottom of the deck is the rabbit. I'm like, oh, what's behind the rabbit? Is the rabbit still afraid of everything, or is this rabbit coming into a space of strength and power? Because even rabbits have the right to live life, right? And the vulture, the vulture was behind the rabbit, and the vulture's looking super. It's like it's got this dark purpley aura, looking real ominous. Thank you, Amanda. It's good to be reminded sometimes because it's like I don't like, and I feel like sometimes I can come across as so judgmental and like judgy and preachy. And it's like I know I can sound preachy, I know I can seem judgy, but like I try not to be. Hey, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like this rabbit, the vulture only preys on the rabbit when it dies. Vultures don't go after live animals, right? They're what's the word? Decomposers. They're carrion. Woo, girl, it's time for me to cook. I'm so hungry. And I smell food smells. This is like, as long as we're in a space of vitality, we don't have to fear this. The vulture only goes after what is decaying. And what it does is it transmutes it to support new life. The systems of old, from their ashes, something better will be born, right? Going back to the realm of things that we have no ability to comprehend or understand. Everything that Earth has been, everything, all of the ways in which the world seemingly has waxed worse and worse and worse, when we're in the space of wanting to manifest new, It's like, it's not that love and light aren't valid and aren't applicable, and it's not that it's not important to also hold. It's not that the hummingbird is bad and unaligned or whatever, but it's again, it's to allow that which is the regenerative and restorative force to come in and to take what needs to be taken. And again, we are alive, we are healthy, we may be in a space where we don't know a lot, we may be a little timid at times, and we may feel lost and overwhelmed and just like we're at the mercy of life. But the vulture is not coming for us. The vulture only goes for that which is already dead and dying. And the vulture is this, it's a very sacred animal because it honors that. The vulture is the cycle pump. The vulture comes in and it assists that from this plane into whatever lies beyond for that particular individual. And it's like, when we look at a body, the spirit is no longer in that body type of energy. And so the body is returned to the earth so something new can grow from it, right? And the spiritual evolution is kind of sort of the same. Our path is our path for a reason, but it sets the foundation that when transformed or when renovated, when remodeled, it gives us something. It serves us. And after that is the crow, right? I think crows can also be a little carrionic in nature. I think, maybe not. But this is sort of like that wisdom. When we sacrifice, when we hand over this mentality that the world is something that will always be against us, we allow it to transform into this beautiful thing that it's almost like it was intended to be. It feels like this jewel is inside of the golden egg. It feels like this is the thing that the eagle was looking for that was missing. But it's not that it was missing, it hasn't matured yet. The oyster, right? Sometimes things don't happen unless they are, I don't want to say provoked, but it's our reaction and our response to external events that determines outcomes more than the events themselves. And it's like we are these oysters that are changing these things into something that is beautiful. And then we release it, right? We can be the oyster that releases instead of the oyster that has to be broken and then, then we force the pearl out. It's like, I'm done with this. Here is the pearl. Take it, right? I don't want this. I didn't want the sand. I don't want the pearl. It's yours. Take it. Have it. The card that came out, I kept seeing the snake. It's the sea serpent. Oh my gosh, it's the moat. Look, see, this is the thing on the inside. This is the changing and the swirling outside. All of this is the potential that's stored and generated between this internal and the continuing external wheel of fortune life cycle. And then there's another one up at the top that is sort of outside of this. Okay. Oh, I'm getting so hungry. You're very judgmental but aware of it now, so you recognize it and rise above now and look for as many other perspectives as you can find. You choose to open your mind instead of passing judgment now. And I love that because I feel like judgmental, it carries such a heavy sort of connotation. But I think like there are judges, right? There are times and situations and spaces where that discerning eye and that ability to compare compare isn't the word I want, but it's like there are times when that is very much so needed and it's very much so appreciated because like it's almost like without judgment we would never see what it is that we weren't seeing, right? And there's a way to like soften it where it's like it's kind of sort of like learning how to talk to certain people And so it's like from that space of being able to judge and discern and evaluate, knowing who you're talking to and how to communicate with that specific individual or with that audience, you can communicate things that others may not see in a way that they're able to like take on, right? If that's something that you choose, right? But it's like it gives you that capability because you are judgmental. And it's like we can use that in this like more light aspect, right? It's just like for me, like when I asked, there was somebody, it was, I talked about it. There was this random girl in Walmart who was like, Patrick, can you help me with something? And I'm like, and she stood there for a second and then she just left. And then my brother was like, I thought I just heard your name. I'm like, me too. And then she actually helped us the other day. The last time we went to Walmart, I was like, is that the girl who said she needed my help with something? And he's like, I think so. And so my little brother is in town. And I'm like, do you know anybody that works in Walmart? And he's like, not really. And my mom was like, well, who is it? Like, what does she look like? And I'm like, it's a girl. It's a black, like, it's a black girl. And my mom was like, really? Like, that's it? I'm like, I'm not good with describing people. I'm not good with explaining things is different. But describing like the physical appearance of something, like critiquing, I am not good at. It's like, oh yeah, I liked it. It's good. It's like she's black. She looks like a girl. She has hair and a face and two eyes and a nose. I'm like, I'm not, I struggle to be descriptive. And I think that's something that like a judgmental eye and capacity, it also have the gift of. It's like in some ways the gift of discernment, and discernment isn't something that's exclusively reserved to being judgmental. But you know what I'm trying not discriminate, but it is to discriminate, to discern and discriminate, and to strip something like to its essence. Like there are a lot of things that go into being judgmental that can be used for very good things, and it can be part of your gift, right? Sometimes it's just for us to learn how to leverage it in a way where it's not necessarily your responsibility to control how people respond to you, right? But it's like if you so choose, you could be someone who's able to communicate things to people in a way to get them to actually move forward. It may require some tweaking, and like it's all in your message, like you've already said it. So did I have to say all of that? No. But for anyone watching, I guess if there are certain things about yourself that you found to be a little abrasive or that don't really serve you, there may be aspects in that that actually uniquely position you to do something. And sometimes it's like we can have a gift where it's overactive or it goes to an extreme, right? An overactive chakra can be just as detrimental to the overall system as an underactive chakra. But yeah, I'm not good at like, and people like, what did you think of this thing? I was like, it's fun. Like, I liked it. It's good. It tasted good. Like, my friend was like, how is this? I'm like, it's good. It's not bad. It's pretty good. It's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. He's like, well, can you tell me like what you like about it? And I'm like, it has a nice flavor. It has some heat, but it's not too spicy. Like, and my grandma, she's trying to perfect the art of making cookies, right? And so she's like, here, Patrick, like, I made 2 batches of peanut butter cookies. Here's one batch, here's another batch. And I need you to tell me like what you like better and why. And I'm like, oh, these are good. Oh, these are good. I'm like, I like both of them. Like this one is like a little more something I can't really describe it. This one is something else, but I like both of them. She's like, you're not helpful. Like you're not helping me. I'm like, I'm sorry. That's not me. I'm not good at it. Now I can be discerning and evaluatory and analytical on like a thought, an idea, something abstract. But when it comes to like the senses, and it's funny because I have so much Taurus in my chart, I guess. But when it comes to the senses, I'm like, yeah, it's this, it's that. I don't know. Am I in this body? Only when I have to be. I'm just playing. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um, okay. Let me catch up on these. Having strong returning for his gifts sometimes occurs because you won't give people an opportunity. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So after all that, we evolve from a snake into the sea serpent. I like the sea serpent too because sea, it's an element of water. It's also a Leviathan energy. It's a Jormungandr energy. It's an expansion, right? It's an expanded sort of realm. It's like going from a page to a knight to a king slash queen to an emperor slash empress to whatever lies beyond that energy here. So goodness, 3 hours. Let's go. Oof. What time is it? Oh, I need to do stuff. I'm doing laundry today. I'm packing today. I need to look at the weather. Michigan is like still in the Midwest, so I'm a make sure I got some layers just in case it's like cold one day or something. And it's ooh, that was quick. Ooh, so the last card from the Diceology is the Four of Wands. The Four of Wands came out with the Eight of Wands the other day. And the bottom of the deck, I don't remember what it was, but it was an energy of aligning to spirit, that commitment to self, the commitment to spirit, and how coming into resonance with energies accelerates it, right? It's like if it's like taking a bike instead of walking, taking a car instead of a bike, a train instead of either, right? The card that came out is understanding the unseen, grasping the subtle, and a sacred vessel. All of that is sort of what spirituality Keter is kind of sort of guiding us back to. Bottom of the deck is the Six of Spades, an internal truth burning to be seen, the yin side of masculinity, and a thrusting yet elegant dance again. This card came out before I shuffled it too well, but I love it. An internal truth burning to be seen and understanding the unseen. It's like there are these things that we have to understand. There are these things that we have to learn to begin to understand before we find ourselves in a position to interact with them well enough to actually develop that understanding. And that is the realm of the High Priestess, the Queen of Cups, and all that stuff, right? Well, I think, because Gabriel was there with Fanuel, right? That was so quick. Oh, God. I'm not going to take it. I'm not taking it. I'm going to get more shuffles than that. So Samikiel came out. I was like, okay, Samikiel, girl, not today. If you come back out, you come back out, and it's meant to be. If not, it's not. But the void is here with Samikiel. Samikiel is the angel of vengeance. It's very much so an energy of let he who is without sin cast the first stone. Because after we call down Samikiel, after we call down divine, angelic, judgment, it judges both parties. It judges all parties involved. And so you may be calling out Samikiel to judge somebody else and find yourself judged. And now you are experiencing the fate that you had wished upon someone else because you felt wronged in whatever way. And that was yesterday when I did the spread. It was we're shifting from this Six of Pentacles, minor justice, like what's fair in your reality, in your world, not looking at how you sort of impact others. And we're seeking this more absolute, this more universal, this more divine justice, right? And so in this tit for tat sort of energy, there is no growth. There's not, it just further perpetuates the same sort of karmic cycles, right? And something mentioned the void. And I was like, Tiferet is the heart. So Tiferet being the heart kind of sort of is the counterpart to the void. You have the heart, which is connected to everything, that which sustains all, and then you have nothing, or the energy of nothingness. That, like, nothingness doesn't need the heart to be sustained. It kind of sort of just is, right? So I'll take that, right? Samikya used to come out all the time. I've already been there, girl, done that. We already know. All right, final card from the Angelarium Oracle cards. Thank you for being here for 3 hours. Oh, goodness, over 3 hours. Also, Amanda, I saw your video that you uploaded. You went live yesterday about relationships. I'm going to watch it. I was like, what? Amanda went live and I missed it? I must have been asleep or something. I don't know. Okay. Let me fix my posture and breathe a little bit. I'm interested to see 3. They made a noise. Okay. So Key to Spirituality came out with Azrael, Angel of Death, and Zadkiel, Angel of Mercy. I don't know why a mercy killing just. It's not a mercy killing. It reminds me of that Emperor that came out in the Vice Versa Tarot that I thought was the Hierophant. It feels like there are these energies that are wanting to be changed, that are wanting to be transformed. But we, through the space of our belief, we lock them into place. And a belief that is not backed and supported by actions, specifically or more specifically, how it locks it into place. And so it's like it's begging for release. It is so, in all actuality, it might already be gone. But we hold on to these phantoms of the past. And so we recreate an energy, calling it a different energy. And I need to be mindful of this myself. That's why I'm in the space of allowing the world to be rewritten, where the collective is that caring and compassionate collective that I would love to see, where people already care about people. And if they didn't, the world would not be reacting in the way that it's reacting to so many of the things that are currently happening. If people didn't care, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in. So I need to myself let that old collective go and more fully embrace this new one, right? That is more symbolic of the age of Aquarius. Escaping the heat. And in one of these scales, it looks like Zadkiel is holding that flame of truth. I don't have my glasses on, but it feels like there's an open book here. And then Azrael is pointing to this page as like it's already over. Like the contract for this has expired. See, it's right here. It's not and the fine line, it's not tiny text, it's in bold and it's big. It's already over. This chapter is closed. We're moving on. See, it's like it says right here that it's over. So it's time to let it go. Okay, I can do that. Why not? I mean, we're in the space of this eclipse that is happening on top of the nodes. I can let it go. Bottom of the deck is Samikio. Angel of Vengeance. Okay. So final card, please. Ooh, there we go. Duma, Angel of Dreams. I love that. Bottom of the deck is Cushiel, Angel of Punishment. Was this the angel? I was like, I've never seen this angel. Well, here comes the angel at the bottom of the deck. Let's go. I mean, I don't know how I feel about the title Angel of Punishment after I was just trying to not, entertain Samikio. I think I've seen this angel. I feel like I've seen a year 2 rendition of this, but it might have actually been Rimph and not Cushiel. It feels kind of Assassin's Creedy with the hood. So Duma, Angel of Dreams. I love this. Come on, Duma. There's Cushiel. A spear, a shaft of light, and a raven. Well, we saw the crow, so we'll just read this first, and then I'll find Duma. So Cushiel. Behind Cushiel is Vanuel, the Angel of Truth. So we have the Angel of Truth and the Angel of Punishment. I mean, Saturn is retrograde right now. So I'm just going to say that and keep it moving. Saturn is retrograde right now. Angel of Truth with the Angel of Punishment. I don't know. Take it as it resonates. But let's see what this is about. Yeah. The hunter whose prey is falsehood. The hunter whose prey is falsehood. The Angel of Truth. Okay. All right, work. Oath breakers beware. Cushiel will seek you out. Even as you stalk your own victims, punishment is upon you. No one escapes the mark of Cushiel. There are consequences for breaking your word. The pieces sharpen and sink into your flesh, embedding themselves within your heart. As long as the offense stands, you will always be held in the sights of the hunter. Seeking absolution is noble, however tedious. Seeking absolution is noble, however tedious. Begin that journey with haste, lest Cushiel find you first. A spear, a shaft of light, and a raven are all of the things that this is found in. So if you've been seeing a lot of ravens, I don't know. It's like, make sure you make it right before the angel Cushiel sort of finds you. I feel like, so maybe since this Saturn retrograde is happening before the eclipse, while Pluto is retrograde, in this space where there is so much that we are being made aware of, it's like correct it moving forward, do better now. And it almost, don't take my word for it, girl. I don't know. I'm no spiritual authority. Don't be going to your angels, your ancestors, your guides, your whatever, saying, well, Patrick told me that, whatever. Take it as it resonates. This is your life. You do what you do. But it almost feels like it's not that karma is put on pause. It feels like we're coming into a time where we have the ability to integrate new knowledge, to take these new perspectives, and from what we know now, make different choices. So it isn't necessarily about punishing us for everything that we did while we were unaware, while we ourselves were hurting, right? It's not necessarily about that. It's about getting you to see or understand whatever that truth is at the bottom of the deck, right? And so we move forward differently. And it's how we navigate now that's important, more so than what we did before, right? It's almost like there's this anime that I got like 2 or 3 episodes into, and then I started it again, and I only watched like 1 or 2 episodes. but there's a kingdom that's under attack, and they really need able-bodied soldiers to defend the kingdom. And there's this one person who has like a criminal record, and they're like, if you serve the kingdom, then your record will be expunged, right? It'll be wiped clean. I don't even know if it's expunged is the word that I want. Where's Siri? Let's ask Siri. Hey Siri, define expunge.
Expand means.
Not expand. Hey Siri, define expunge. Read it to me, Siri. Tell the people. I could have just Googled it. So expunge means erase or remove completely something unwanted or unpleasant. Yeah. It's like it's being completely expunged. And like I was saying with the judgmental thing earlier, it's like some of these things can actually serve to benefit the collective, where they were used against the collective for whatever reason. We were who we were at the time, where we knew what we knew, and the energies were what the energies were. But now, as we transition into something more, into something beyond, into something different, we can take those things and I'm doing this. It's like we can sort of push them through these different filters, and like we can refine them, we can hone them, we can turn them into gifts, or we can recognize them as the gifts that they are when used. And I started playing Pokemon again. Everything is a sign and a synchronicity for me. And I caught a Krogunk, and it's a poison type Pokemon. And it's like these Pokemon became really popular when it was discovered that if you dilute their poison, it becomes medicinal. Everything can be medicinal when used in the right concentration, when diluted to the right degree with the right thing, right? And that's again, it's the space of light being born from darkness. Luke's ex tenebra or tenebris. That's how the light wins in a space that can be so dark, because darkness is kind of sort of the breeding ground for light when we choose it, and it is happening. So there we go, right? It's about what you do now moving forward. So I was just like, I never see Kushiel. I never see Kushiel. And I read The Hunter Whose Prey is Falsehood, Angel of Truth and the Truth and Spirituality and Divine and the Truth was all up in that thing. That's what we're going after. It's going after falsehoods, right? And if you're living a falsehood, and if you continue to do so, then you may feel attacked by that. But it's to remove the falsehood. It's not to make you. It's to make you more you. There you go. Duma, Angel of Dreams, docent to the unknown. Duma is the impetus to doubt a false reality. The impetus to doubt a false reality with the hunter who hunts falsehoods. Okay. Thank you. Duma is the impetus to doubt a false reality, to crack the shell keeping you from the truth. This is what I feel personally. Maybe it's because it's how I'm engaging and interacting with the current transiting energies. And I already mentioned it. That's what it feels like Neptune and Pisces, at least now, is doing. Neptune and Pisces is not here to create further illusions on top of illusions and falsities on top of falsities on top of falsities. Neptune is like a clearing fog. It's a fog that comes in and it clears out one that wasn't it. Like Neptune is like, y'all gonna put some respect on my name. All of this foolishness, that's not Neptune. That's not me. That ain't me. I'm the weaver of dreams, right? I make your wildest dreams a reality. I move things from fantasy to here. Now, was Neptune probably responsible for some illusions and stuff? Maybe. Neptune has polarity like everything. Anyway, that energy came out before. And it feels like, again, that's what Neptune, especially with Jupiter being in Pisces now for a brief moment, it has the opportunity to expand in a way and to dispel illusion rather than to create it. It feels like it's sucking it up. It feels like Neptune has like reversed, like it was spinning like this, but Neptune's reversed its polarity. So now instead of like expelling sort of fog and illusion, it's like sucking it in. It's like when you change your fan to go counterclockwise instead of clockwise, right? So, Duma is the impetus to doubt a false reality, to crack the shell keeping you from the truth. When the world shifts around you, Duma is your guide. The world is stranger than you believed it to be. What we dream together. Those dreams pull together in Duma's cupped hands. Look below the surface of the water. You know you've missed something, and yet you wonder what. You listen closely, and yet you hear nothing. All the while, you dream the truth you think you seek. It is said that Duma and Leliel are connected. The truth of this can only be found within Angelarium. Signs are a reflection in water, a golden cage, and an eye. Ooh. So that's what I got. I hope y'all have a good one. Whenever you see this, I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that you are able to discern and distinguish between the truth of your reality, lowercase t, and the truth of, or more global and universal truths, capital T truths, right? All the best navigating all of this eclipse energy or whatever is sort of running through the collective right now. Um, and yeah, you pray for me, I pray for you. You don't pray for me, I'll still pray for you. Because girl, like the more happy, fulfilled people there are on this planet, the better the experience we all have. And I don't have to, like, you being happy is enough of a gain and a benefit to me. Because now it's like that's one less sort of miserable person that's out here trying to make other people miserable to feel less miserable about their misery. I don't know. Anyway, let's let that go too. I'm letting that go too. Right? I am manifesting a collective of people that care about people as I manifest a Patrick that cares more about people. And I'm also manifesting a collective where we're all cool and quirky and unique and weird and Aquarian and cool. That's a lot of head movement. Because that's fun. That's fun. And I don't need people to be tamed or dilute or like me. Like I encourage people to not be me. Not that I don't love myself, not that I'm not gorgeous, but the world don't need more Patrick. The world needs more you, and I want to see more you. Like, but the real you, right? Not the diluted, less weird, more monochromatic you that you had to be for the time where you had to be that. So I also wish you all of the bravery and courage and strength and validation and compassion and patience that you need to become more and more and more of yourself as I seek to do the same. So, yeah, there we go. It's such a beautiful place. And we're all so much more beautiful than we pretend to be, than we've had to pretend to be. So, I will catch y'all later. No problem. Glad to be here. Glad to be in the presence of you. And I will catch y'all when I catch y'all. I will do the cleaning, the laundry, the packing, the planning that I need to do. All right. See you later.